Chapter 1079. An unexpected event. Ah, my eyes. My back. Why you? Don't step on my leg. My arm, my eyes. Among the onlookers, the highest cultivation was only at the creation realm. Most of them were at the Yin-Yang realm and the Yuan-Dan realm. Venerable Yu was a late-stage, 7th grade supreme. How could these Yin-Yang realm martial artists withstand her explosion? Fortunately, Venerable Yu did not self-destruct. It was an explosion under Ning Yu's control. Otherwise, Ning Yu and the rest would not have been able to withstand it. Whoosh! The explosion came and went as quickly as it came. 10 minutes later, the aftermath of the explosion completely dissipated. The area was in a mess. A few corpses lay on the ground in the distance. Their arms and legs were long gone. Puff! In front of the Ning family's main gate, the middle were Venerable could not bear it and spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura dropped from a peak 7th grade supreme to an early stage 7th grade supreme. On the other side, Ning Yu, Talisman Venerable, Yunmu, the Dark Emperor, and the Sword of Evil were also in a sorry state. But compared to East War Venerable and Shen Tu, how beside the Middle War Venerable, they were in a much better state. When Venerable Yu exploded, the Sword of Evil used the law of space to tear the void and push Ning Yu and the rest into the void, thus avoiding the disaster. Fortunately, they had the help of the law of space. Otherwise, Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor would have been seriously injured, even if they did not die. Shen Tu Hao, I gave you a chance to live. You did not know how to cherish it. Ning Yu stared at Shen Tu Hao and said in a low voice, now that your aura has dropped to a 5th grade supreme, I can crush you with one hand. Ning Yu, why do you all look like nothing happened? Shen Tu Hao's expression was very ugly. He, an early stage 7th grade supreme, had his cultivation dropped to a 5th grade supreme, while Ning Yu was completely fine. He just looked a little worse for wear. Who could be calm in such a situation? Why should I tell you? Ning Yu's eyebrows shot up. In view of your stupidity, I will make a trip to the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion headquarters after today. Ha ha ha. You don't need to go to the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's headquarters. I've already issued a kill order. Everyone from the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion will attack you if they see you. Shen Tu Hao laughed like a madman. Noisy! Ning Yu's face turned cold. He tore open the void and disappeared. Bang! In that instant, Ning Yu appeared in front of Shen Tu Hao. A fist, which could not be avoided, smashed onto Shen Tu Hao's heart. There were still 3 minutes before the effects of the berserk fluid disappeared. Therefore, Ning Yu's punch was extremely powerful. Puff! Shen Tu Hao's eyes widened as he was struck in the heart by Ning Yu's terrifying punch, and his body flew backwards in an instant. Shen Tu Hao spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. He raised his right hand and opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he fell to the ground. At this moment, the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's great elder, Shen Tu Hao, who was at the early 7th grade human supreme stage, had died in battle. Eastern Warlord, it's your turn. Killing Shen Tu Hao was as easy as killing a chicken for Ning Yu. He waved his hand and shifted his gaze towards the Eastern Warlord. What are you doing? The Eastern Warlord was trembling in fear. Compared to Shen Tu Hao, he was too weak. If Ning Yu could kill Shen Tu Hao in one move, then he could definitely kill him in one move. After all, his cultivation had also dropped to the 5th grade human supreme stage. I'm not doing anything. I just want to get justice. Shrugging, Ning Yu said, the grudge between me and your pill puppet actually started in the capital's Danwu College's pill cave. At that time, Kuo wanted to kill me, and I had no choice but to attack him. Now you want to kill me. If I don't kill you, do you think I'll let you escape? Swish! As he spoke, Ning Yu poured the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness into the red demon's sword and stabbed it out. Middle Warlord, save me, save me. Seeing that Ning Yu was about to reach him, the Eastern War Lord yelled. Scram! The Middle War Lord had suffered serious injuries from the explosion of the Venerable. He was currently recuperating, so how could he have the time to care about the Eastern War Lord? The Middle War Venerate cursed and kicked the East War Venerate. Not only did he not protect the East War Venerate, but he also kicked the East War Venerate toward Ningyu. No. The Eastern War Lord's pupils shrank, his eyes filled with despair. Whoosh! Although he was in despair, the Eastern War Lord still put up a resistance. However, in the eyes of Ningyu, the Eastern War Lord's resistance was like a child's play. It was completely useless. The red demon's sword seemed to have eyes of its own as it stabbed into the Eastern War Lord's heart. Sut! However, as soon as the red demon's sword stabbed into the Eastern War Lord's heart, a terrifying suction force emerged from Ningyu's body. This suction force was terrifying, and in an instant the Eastern War Lord was swallowed into pieces of flesh. What? The Middle War Lord could ignore the Eastern War Lord, but the Eastern War Lord's current situation made his expression change drastically. He had been swallowed into pieces of flesh. The Middle War Lord immediately stood up, not even bothering to recover. He hurriedly extended his perception and began probing the Eastern War Lord's corpse. Gasp! This probing caused the Medium War Sovereign to suck in a breath of cold air. Go! After learning the truth, the Middle War Lord immediately decided to leave. If the Sword of Evil had only controlled spatial laws, he would not have been so afraid, as he had a way to escape. However, if the World Tree was added to the mix, he would not even have a chance to escape. He could only leave before Ningyu reacted. Otherwise, he would definitely not be able to escape. Want to leave? It's not that easy. The Sword of Evil held the spatial laws in his hand, while Ningyu held the sapling in his hand. If the Middle War Lord could escape in this situation, Ningyu and the Sword of Evil would not be able to stay in the Sky Demon territory anymore. The Middle War Lord's current battle prowess was only equivalent to an initial 7th grade human supreme. He was the closest to the Middle War Lord, so he suffered the greatest impact from the Middle War Lord's explosion. Ningyu, you still have 3 seconds before the Berserk Liquid's duration runs out. Go swallow the energy first to replenish yourself. I'll go capture the Middle War Lord. The Sword of Evil waved his hand at Ningyu, then rushed into the void to capture the Middle War Lord. Kacha! Ningyu knew that the Sword of Evil was doing this for his own good. After all, the Middle War Lord still had the battle prowess of an initial 7th grade human supreme. If he went over, he might encounter a mishap. Taking out the storage bag given to him by the talisman martial supremacy, Ningyu did not care about the consequences and directly swallowed all of the energy inside. Traces of energy flowed down Ningyu's throat and into his body, then into his consciousness. Whoosh! After about 3 minutes of recuperation, Ningyu finally passed the period of weakness caused by the Berserk Liquid's duration. Right now, his cultivation was a 1st grade human supreme, and his mental state was at its peak. Bang! At this moment, a figure flew out of the void and hit the ground hard. Middle War Lord, I said. What? Ningyu got up and shifted his gaze to the fallen cultivator. However, halfway through his sentence, Ningyu's pupils shrank and his face was filled with disbelief. Chapter 1080. The Evil Venerable Swish. The faces of Ningyu and the others turned cold as the Sword of Evil was unleashed. The Sword of Evil was the strongest among them. If even the Sword of Evil wasn't a match for a Medium War Venerable, they would definitely die if they went up. How can a Medium War Venerable be so powerful? Ningyu furrowed his brows and shifted his gaze to the sky. Buzz! The space shook and a figure slowly appeared from the void. It's not a Medium War Venerable. Ningyu's pupils shrank as he looked at the figure floating in the air. His heart sank to the bottom. The figure in the void wasn't a medium or venerable, but an old man. What worried Ningyu the most was the old man's cultivation. An initial stage 8th grade, human supreme. The old man's cultivation had reached the terrifying initial stage 8th grade, human supreme. The sword of evil had only recovered to the advanced stage 7th grade, human supreme. Even with the help of the law of space, he still had no chance of winning against an initial stage 8th grade human supreme. Ha ha ha. At this moment, the space beside the old man split open again, and a loud laugh rang out. Ningyu, you didn't expect this, did you? I'm back. With a wild laugh, the medium more venerable said coldly, Hand over that thing, and I can spare your life. Humph. You think you can decide? Ningyu snorted. You're no different from a stray dog in front of me. I'm so angry. The medium more venerable's eyes turned cold after being mocked by Ningyu. He tore open the void and charged at Ningyu. Smack! However, before the medium more venerable could get far, the old man beside him slapped his shoulder and said in a deep voice, If you don't want to die, then stay put. The old man was the same as the medium more venerable. They were both elixir puppets. However, the old man was an initial stage 8th grade human supreme and was more sensitive to the world tree. The world tree was terrifying. Before figuring out the extent of the world tree in Ningyu's body, it was best not to act rashly. Otherwise, even if his cultivation had reached the early stage of level 8, it was very likely that he would fail miserably. Let me introduce myself. I am the commander of the Eastern Expedition Army. You can call me the Evil Lord. The old man withdrew his aura into his body and said indifferently, There is not much hatred between us. As long as we have a proper discussion, we will definitely be able to turn hostility into friendship. What do you want to talk about? Ningyu asked with a thought. It's very simple. Hand over that thing and place it in this storage pouch, and I can spare your life. With a faint smile, the evil venerable lord said, Moreover, apart from sparing your life, I can also provide you with a large number of unconscious elixirs for you to consume. Your cultivation is at 1st grade human sovereign, and your soul power is at middle grade, 7th grade. With the unconscious pellets that I'll provide you, I believe that you'll only need 2 or 3 days at most to advance your cultivation to 2nd grade human sovereign and your soul power to late grade 7th grade. That's a good deal, Ningyu said without batting an eyelid. You are an early stage 8th grade human sovereign and stronger than me. How can I trust you? As he spoke, Ningyu's soul power surged, controlling the sapling to fly out of the storage ring and let it float in front of him. Hiss! Seeing the sapling in front of Ningyu, the evil venerable lord first gasped, and then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. The world tree. The sapling in front of Ningyu was the world tree. I didn't expect it to have reached such a level. It's really not simple. The evil, venerable lord glanced at Ningyu, feeling a faint lingering fear in his heart. The world tree at this level was a fatal threat to Danling. Fortunately, Ningyu's cultivation was only at 1st grade human sovereign. If he had reached 4th grade or even 5th grade human sovereign, he would probably be in deep trouble. There are a few 1st grade human sovereign essence chi pill puppets in here. Take them as a greeting gift. The evil venerable lord took out a storage bag and threw it to Ningyu. Don't worry, I won't mistreat you. You better not lie to me. Catching the storage bag, Ningyu sent a bit of his perception into it. 10 1st grade human sovereign essence chi pill puppets. Sensing the number of essence chi pill puppets in the storage bag, Ningyu pointed at the sapling in front of him. Wait for a moment. Let me refine all these essence chi pill puppets. Then I'll talk to you about how to deal with them. Swoosh! Ningyu was never sloppy when it came to handling matters. He immediately sat down cross-legged and activated the spiritualization technique to devour the essence chi pill puppets in the storage bag. Evil venerable lord, the world tree. That thing is right in front of Ningyu. Why don't you snatch it? Seeing Ningyu sit down to cultivate, the medium more venerable asked in confusion. Stupid! The evil venerable lord glared at the medium more venerable and said in a low voice, Do you think I don't want to snatch the world tree? To tell you the truth, the world tree is about to mature. In my current state, I can kill Ningyu and the rest, but I can't catch it. The only thing we can do now is to rely on Ningyu's help to put the world tree into the storage bag. Then, I'll use a secret technique to seal the storage bag. Otherwise, we're doomed to return empty-handed today. I see, the medium more venerable nodded and said, But what if Ningyu doesn't cooperate with us? Humph, the evil venerable lord snorted. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and conspiracies will be exposed. Drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. After half an hour of devouring and refining, Ningyu felt a change in his sea of consciousness. At this time, as long as there were a few more unconscious Yuan Qi pill puppets, Ningyu was confident that he could raise his cultivation to the 2nd grade human supreme realm. Ningyu, how is it? Do you feel my sincerity? The evil venerable lord did not care whether Ningyu could advance to the 2nd grade human supreme realm. Seeing that Ningyu had stopped, the evil lord took out a storage pouch from his chest, shook it, and said, There are dozens of unconscious Dan puppets here. As long as you do as I say, they are yours. What do you want to do? Ningyu frowned. It's simple. Put the saplings into this storage bag. The evil venerable lord took out another storage bag and threw it to Ningyu. Smack! Catching the storage bag, Ningyu sent a bit of his perception into it. A formation? Inside the storage bag, Ningyu saw a terrifying formation. This formation was specifically targeted at the Tree of World. It was useless against other things. Hong Mo, I will throw the saplings and the red demon sword into the storage bag. When the time comes, you will find a way to break the formation in the storage bag and listen to my orders. Ningyu secretly instructed Hong Mo and said in a clear voice, Evil venerable lord, throw the other storage bag over, and I will put the saplings into it. That won't do. I don't trust you. The evil venerable lord shook his head. You don't trust me? Chapter 1081. Brazing Royal Grade Flying Sword. The evil venerable used his perception to probe the red demon sword. This flying sword is special. It's not an ordinary royal grade flying sword. A moment later, the evil venerable retracted his perception. Ningyu, do as you say. The evil venerable said in a clear voice, Throw the flying sword in your hand into the storage bag. I'll throw the storage bag with the unconscious pill puppet to you. Okay. Ningyu did not hesitate. With a flick of his wrist, he threw the red demon's sword into the storage bag. Swoosh! The evil venerable kept his word. He threw the storage bag with the unconscious pill puppet to Ningyu. After receiving the storage bag, Ningyu checked the number of pill puppets inside and said, Evil venerable, give me an hour. Once I'm done refining the pill puppet, I'll immediately throw the sapling into the storage bag. Just like before, Ningyu sat down cross-legged and immediately began refining the Yuan Qi pill puppet. After the cultivation just now, Ningyu's cultivation had reached the peak of 1st grade human supreme. As long as he refined the unconscious pill puppet in the storage bag, he would definitely be able to advance to 2nd grade human supreme. Whoosh! Ningyu slowly activated the spirit transformation method. He did not hide anything and began cultivating in front of so many people. This time, the medium more venerable learned his lesson. He did not interrupt, but stood where he was and tried his best to recover. The venerable's explosion had a huge impact on the medium or venerable. At least in a short period of time, his cultivation would not be able to recover to its peak. It's all thanks to Ningyu. As long as the evil venerable gets his hands on the world tree, I'll immediately cut Ningyu into pieces. The medium war venerable hated Ningyu very much. If not for Ningyu's crafty plot to detonate the evil venerable, he would not be in such a sorry state now. Regarding this, the medium war venerable had to get back at him no matter what. Bang! Time always slipped away unknowingly. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. When the second hour arrived, a muffled sound suddenly came from Ningyu's sea of consciousness. Rumble. Following this, an aura burst out from Ningyu's divine sense and rose into the sky. Second grade, human sovereign. Ningyu has actually advanced to second grade, human sovereign. This is too unbelievable. What's so unbelievable about it? Ningyu was originally a peak grade 1 human sovereign. Now that he has so much pure energy, it's only natural for him to advance to grade 2 human sovereign. Although Venerable Yu's explosion had caused countless deaths and injuries among the onlookers, Venerable Yu's death was not a small matter. However, there had always been a lot of people like this. Even if this batch was injured, there would be an endless stream of martial artists. Ningyu, can you throw the sapling into the storage bag now? The evil revered lord did not care whether Ningyu had advanced to the second grade sovereign realm or not. What he was concerned about was whether the world tree would be thrown into the storage bag by Ningyu. Go. Ningyu did not disappoint the evil revered lord. He let out a low growl and controlled the sapling to enter the storage bag. Ha ha ha. Seeing the sapling enter the storage bag, the evil revered lord immediately laughed maniacally. Come back. Whoosh. The storage bag obeyed the evil revered lord's command. Just as the evil revered lord shouted, the storage bag tore through the void and floated in front of the evil revered lord. Ningyu, thank you for your cooperation, but there's something I need to tell you. Looking at the storage bag floating in front of him, the evil revered lord's face was burning. Grabbing the storage bag in his hand, the evil revered lord said darkly, in order to repay you for doing the right thing, I've decided to send you to heaven. You want to send me to heaven? The corner of Ningyu's lips curled up slightly. There are many people who want to take my life. Who do you think you are? Since the red demon sword was in the storage bag, Ningyu was not very afraid of the evil revered lord. When the time came, he would communicate with the red demon sword and have it break the formation to release the sapling. Although it was not good for both sides to be injured, given the current situation, it was probably the best outcome. Oh, Ningyu, you're still so stubborn even when you're at death's door. I have to say, you're really arrogant, but I don't know if you have the capital to be so. As he spoke, the evil revered lord's figure gradually turned illusory and soon disappeared. Watch out. As soon as the evil revered lord disappeared, the sword of evil appeared in front of Ningyu with a low emperor flying sword in hand. Ding! In the next instant, a crisp sound rang out. 2 figures were sent flying backward. However, judging from the distance, the 2 figures flew backward. It was obvious that the sword of evil was at a disadvantage. In fact, he was at an absolute disadvantage. Accurately speaking, the sword of evil and the evil revered lord weren't on the same level. If I've guessed correctly, you should be a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign at your pinnacle. But it's a pity that you're destined to be defeated by me. The evil revered lord shrugged his shoulders as he slowly walked towards the sword of evil. To be able to devour a late phase 7th grade sovereign, it's not a loss for me. The evil revered lord was a pellet puppet, and an energy pellet puppet at that. Humans could devour pellets, and pellets could also devour humans. But at the evil revered lord's level, devouring ordinary humans would no longer have any effect. Only by devouring humans of the 7th grade human supreme realm would he be able to improve his cultivation. Ningyu, quickly think of something. Seeing the evil revered lord approaching the sword of evil, The Dark Emperor immediately said. In the past, Ningyu would always be able to resolve the crisis in time. This time, the Dark Emperor had also chosen to believe in Ningyu. What can he do? There's only one way for us to go. The Talisman Venerable cast a glance at the Dark Emperor as he faintly said, What path? The Dark Emperor asked in puzzlement, Wait for death. The Talisman Venerable said, How many? If he hadn't fought alongside the Talisman Venerable, the Dark Emperor would have long taught the Talisman Venerable a lesson. Saying such depressing words at such a crucial moment was truly foolish. Foolish to the extreme. Kiki, damn dog. Actually, the Talisman Venerable is right. Right now, you guys can only wait for death. At this moment, the Medium War Sovereign eerily laughed as he slowly walked towards the Dark Emperor. After recovering for a few minutes, the Medium War Sovereign couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't wait to kill Ningyu. Although he had suffered heavy injuries, after a few minutes of recovery, the Medium War Sovereign still maintained the fighting strength of a late-phase, 6th grade sovereign with his powerful recovery ability. It's been a long time since I've eaten dog meat. Let me have a taste of braised dog meat today. The Medium War Sovereign eerily said, Really? But just when the Medium War Sovereign was about to make a move, Ningyu took a deep breath and his cold eyes flickered with a terrifying luster. A deep and robust voice slowly resounded from Ningyu's mouth. Chapter 1082. A Massacre. Braised Pig. The Middle War Venerable was slightly stunned. He looked around and asked in confusion, There are only dead dogs here. Where is the pig? How adorably stupid. Aren't you a pig? Ningyu shrugged. You're courting death. The Middle War Venerable's face darkened. Not only did Ningyu detonate the Venerable and injure him, he even called him a pig in front of so many people. An aunt could endure it, but an uncle couldn't. With a low roar, the Middle War Venerable rose from the ground and charged at Ningyu at a terrifying speed. Get out of the way. Seeing that the Middle War Venerable was about to reach him, Ningyu pushed the Dark Emperor away and gathered all the energy in his sea of consciousness on his fist. He threw a punch that couldn't be avoided and collided with the Middle War Venerable's fist. Bang! The two fists collided and a crisp sound rang out. Swish! Swish! Ningyu and the Middle War Venerable both took a few steps back before they could stabilize themselves. Your strength! The Middle War Venerable's expression was ugly. Although he had the upper hand in this move, he knew that killing Ningyu was harder than ascending to the heavens. What kind of freak was Ningyu to be able to fight him head-on with the cultivation of a Grade 2 Supreme? Although his cultivation had dropped a lot and was far from his peak, he still had the strength of a Grade 6 Supreme. But he still had the battle strength of a late Grade 6 Supreme. If such a powerful battle strength couldn't deal with Ningyu, could it be that Ningyu's battle strength had reached a terrifying level? Gulp! The Middle War Venerable couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. I don't believe that you can fight me head-on without the Royal Grade Flying Sword and the World Tree. The Middle War Venerable clenched his fists and charged at Ningyu once again. The Middle War Venerable didn't believe it. No matter what, he was an outstanding figure in the pill dispensary. If he was defeated by a Grade 2 Supreme like Ningyu, how could he establish himself in the pill dispensary in the future? Universe Palm. In the second exchange, Ningyu did not use his fists. Instead, he released his middle stage rank 7 soul power, wrapped it around his wrist, and pushed out with his palm. Voila! In midair, a huge blood-colored palm print suddenly flew out, causing the surrounding air to dodge. Chen. Seeing the palm print transform into the word Chen, the Middle War Venerable's expression became extremely solemn. Pale puppet fist. The Middle War Elder's body quickly disappeared. When the Middle War Elder appeared, it was in front of the Universe Palm. He clenched his fists and shot out hundreds of fist lights in an instant. Chi-chi. Countless fist lights bombarded the heaven and earth palm print. directly shattering the heaven and earth palm print. Countless fragments of the palm print fell down. Ha ha ha. Ningyu, I knew that you were at the end of your rope. Now, what else do you have? Bring it all out. The Middle War Venerable laughed maniacally. Before the Middle War Venerable could say the word accompany, his mouth opened wide, and his face was full of horror. Unknowingly, Ningyu had already appeared in front of him. A punch, carrying with it an extremely violent wave of yuan qi and soul power, smashed into the Middle War Venerable's heart. Bang! This punch from Ningyu was the most powerful punch he could display at this stage. After being hit by Ningyu's fist, the Middle War Venerable's body was like a kite with a broken string, falling straight toward the ground. In the end, he fell hard on the ground, his face flat on his face. Swoosh! Ningyu arrived in front of the Middle War Venerable in a leap. His right foot stepped on the Middle War Venerable's head, and he said coldly to the evil Venerable, "If you don't want the Middle War Venerable to die, you better stop now." Sha! As expected, Ningyu's words had some deterrent effect. The evil Venerable forced the sword of evil back with one move, and his gaze shifted to Ningyu. It is said that heroes come from the young. I can foresee that if you are given a few more years to grow, even I will not be your opponent. The evil Venerable did not care about the life or death of the Middle War Venerable. He gave up on the sword of evil and turned to walk toward Ningyu. The evil Venerable walked very slowly, very slowly. Don't! But with every step he took, the ground shook. In the end, the frequency of the shaking became faster and faster, and so did his speed. Ha, Ningyu, I advise you to let me go. Otherwise, the evil Venerable will skin you alive. The Middle War Venerable was originally about to lose hope. Seeing the evil Venerable walking toward him, he suddenly had hope of survival, and he laughed wildly. Noisy. Ningyu was very annoyed. At this time the Middle War Venerable laughed again, and it was obvious that he had bumped into the muzzle. Ningyu exerted a little force with his right foot and suddenly stomped down. Crack! With a stomp, the Middle War Venerable's head turned into minced meat. Good, very good. You did very well. The corner of the evil Venerable's mouth curled up. In order to repay you for killing the Middle War Venerable, I have decided to give you an opportunity. Come out. The evil Venerable grabbed at the void with both hands, and the void in front of him suddenly split apart. Hua! After the void split apart, a terrifying scene appeared before everyone's eyes. Countless figures burst out from the spatial crack. What the F***? Seeing the sudden appearance of several figures, even though Ningyu had guessed this possibility, he could not help but curse. Golden puppets! A large number of golden puppets. An overwhelming number of golden puppets. The cultivation of these golden puppets were mostly between first and second grade human supremes. There were even a few leader-level golden puppets whose strength had reached 5th grade human supremes. After these golden puppets appeared, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they all landed behind the evil Venerable. How about it? Do you want this opportunity? The evil Venerable pointed at the numerous pill puppets behind him. As long as you open your mind and let me leave a wisp of yuan qi in your sea of consciousness, I will give this complete pill puppet army to you. It's not an exaggeration to say that with this army, it's only a matter of time before you dominate the profound moon continent. Dominate the profound moon continent with these golden puppets? Are you king kidding me? Ning, you looked at the evil Venerable as if he was looking at a fool. Don't underestimate the number of golden puppets. Just a 7th grade human sovereign is enough to annihilate them all. Haha, young people are indeed not confident. The evil Venerable lightly smiled and casually waved his hand. Buzz! At this moment, the majority of the golden puppets behind the evil Venerable entered the void, leaving only 10 2nd grade human sovereigns and 4 5th grade human sovereigns behind. Ningyu, I've given you a chance, but you don't know how to cherish it. Since that's the case, I can only start a massacre. The evil venerable seemed to be talking about something indifferent as he faintly said, although we're only attacking the Pill Cave now, it's not impossible to occasionally devour a city. Let Profound Sky City be the first city that our Eastern Expedition Army will devour. Chapter 1083. The Might of the Sapling Swish. The evil lord's words caused a huge uproar in the area. Aside from the crowd watching from afar, even Ningyu and the Sword of Evil revealed terrified expressions. Massacre the city. The evil lord made a terrifying decision. Only the evil lord would do something as heartless as massacring an entire city. After all, the evil lord was Danchi killing humans, was the same as humans slaughtering demonic beasts. Evil lord, do you think that you've got us for sure? Taking a deep breath, Ningyu locked his aura on the evil lord and said in a deep voice, "There's something I want to tell you. It's fine to be confident, but overconfidence will turn into arrogance." Haha, I don't need you to teach me what to do. The evil lord smiled and said, "Keep your eyes open in your next life. Don't offend those you shouldn't." What are you waiting for? Seeing that Dan Chi still hadn't made a move, the evil lord said coldly, "If I still see anyone alive in Tianqian City in half an hour, you should know the consequences." Swish! The 4 5th grade Sovereign Realm sovereigns exchanged glances. Thereafter, 2 5th grade Sovereign Realm sovereigns flew into the distance, while the other 2 charged towards Ningyu. These 5th grade sovereigns weren't fools. They knew that Ningyu was powerful. Even if they wanted to massacre the city, they had to start with Ningyu. Dark Emperor, Reverend Sword Evil, I'll leave the 2 5th grade human sovereigns and 10 2nd grade human sovereigns to you. I'll deal with the 2 5th grade human sovereigns. Ningyu bellowed at the crucial moment. Swish! Although the Sword of Evil was heavily injured, he knew that he had to follow Ningyu's instructions. Otherwise, everyone would die today. Universe Palm. After settling everything, Ningyu waved his right hand in the air. Swish! Ningyu's palm print was extremely powerful. It transformed into the word Qian in midair. Looking at the approaching giant palm print, the 2 5th grade mortal sovereign Dan Chi's faces turned extremely solemn. Although their cultivation was at the 5th grade sovereign realm, which was a few levels higher than Ningyu, they still did not dare to relax. The tragic deaths of the Middle War Venerables and the East War Venerables were still fresh in their minds, and they could not forget it for a long time. No, I need to distract the evil lord. Ningyu knew that whether or not he could kill the evil lord depended on whether the evil lord would be distracted or not. Got it. Suddenly, with a thought, Ningyu's figure became illusory. Sha! In the next instant, Ningyu appeared in front of the 2 5th grade human supreme, Dan Chi Bang. Bang! Naturally, a 5th grade mortal sovereign like Dan Jin would not let go of such a good opportunity. They punched out in unison. 2 Dan Chi and 2 fist lights. Without a doubt, all of them landed on Ningyu's chest. Swish! A huge force came from his chest, causing Ningyu to fly backward. Uft! Fresh blood spurted out, and Ningyu's aura instantly dropped to rock bottom. Of course, this rock bottom was only a relative term. What's going on? As expected, the drop in Ningyu's aura confused the evil lord. Logically speaking, if Ningyu could kill the Middle War Venerables and the East War Venerables, how could he be defeated by 2 5th grade human supreme Dan Chi so quickly? At this moment, the corner of Ningyu's mouth suddenly curled up. Not good. Seeing Ningyu's action, the evil lord's expression changed, and he hurriedly retreated. Hong, Mo, do it. It was too late for the evil lord to think of retreating at this moment. Ningyu grabbed at the air with both hands and bellowed. Whoosh! Along with Ning Yu's bellow, one of the evil lord's storage pouches was suddenly torn open. A blood-red flying sword and a sapling shot out from the storage pouch. Damn it! The evil lord was, after all, an 8th grade initial human supreme. How strong was his perception? When the storage pouch shattered, he immediately reacted and hurriedly used the yuan qi in his body to block his heart. The evil lord had always been afraid of the world tree. After all, the world tree was extremely effective against the Dan Qi and was feared by the entire Dan Qi clan. Although Ning Yu's world tree was only in the form of a sapling, the devouring power that erupted from it was exceptionally heaven-defying. It was so heaven-defying that the evil lord had no choice but to put up his strongest defense. However, even if the evil lord tried his best, he still couldn't withstand the powerful attacks from the red demon sword and the sapling. The sapling devoured all the yuan qi around the evil lord, and the red demon sword pierced straight into the evil lord's heart. The evil lord let out a hysterical roar. Ningyu, if you kill me today, you will have to bear the wrath of the Eastern Expedition Army in the future. What does the Eastern Expedition Army have to do with me? As long as I exterminate all of you who would still speak of this matter. Ningyu's expression was very fierce as he spoke in a deep voice. Ha ha ha, it's not that easy to kill me. Hearing Ningyu's words, the evil lord threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Just as he was about to say something vicious, he spat out a large mouthful of blood and his body fell backward. The evil lord's huge body didn't make a single sound when he fell to the ground. It wasn't because the evil lord wasn't completely dead, but because the evil lord's condition wasn't much different from that of a medium war venerable. At this moment, the evil lord had been devoured into pieces by the sapling and the red demon sword. Buzz! After devouring the evil lord, the sapling was clearly not satisfied. It turned into a shadow and chased after the 5th grade human supreme, Dan Qi. Not long after, the sapling returned to Ningyu's side, swaying nonstop. What's going on? The sapling's actions confused Ningyu. After devouring so many Dan Qi, did the sapling still have other thoughts? I'm going to kill you. Ningyu was just about to speak when he saw 4 to 5 Shenyang pills appearing on the sapling's branches. Enter. The Shenyang pill was a good thing. Ning, you didn't want anyone to find out about it. With a thought, he controlled the sapling to return to his storage ring. Ningyu, the things that appeared on the sapling are... Although Ningyu's actions were fast, the talisman's supremacy still saw the Shenyang pill appearing on the sapling. The talisman's supremacy was a sly old fox. She knew that the Shenyang pill would be very helpful for her recovery. 1 Shenyang pill could even restore her to her peak state. Swish! Swish! Before Ning Yu could reply, the sword of evil and the Dark Emperor flew over from afar and landed in the area. Did you kill all the Dan Qi? Ning Yu quickly changed the topic. 10 2nd grade human supremacies and 2 5th grade human supremacies. If we let them leave, the consequences would be dire. Don't worry, we killed them all. The Dark Emperor raised his head and said proudly, Everyone rest here for a while. We'll set off to the nearest pill cave later. Chapter 1084. Resource Reserve Station. I'm afraid not. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Talisman Martial Highness shook his head and said, The Great Xia Kingdom has a total of 2 pill caverns. One is near Tianjin City, and the other is within Danwu College. Even if we block the pill caverns near Tianjin City, we won't be able to cut off the passage between the pill caverns and the Great Xia Kingdom. Let's seal off the nearest pill cavern first before heading to Danwu College. Ning Yu said in a deep voice, Let's not bother with other matters for now. Let's rest here for half an hour. We'll set off after that. Ning Yu's tone was unquestionable. Drip, drip. Time passed by the seconds and minutes. In the blink of an eye, 30 minutes had passed. Let's go. Ningyu waved his hand and took the lead to fly out of Tianqian City. Swish, 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 swish. Behind Ningyu, the Sword of Evil, the Dark Emperor, the Talisman Martial Highness, and Yunmu followed closely behind. The battle ended as quickly as it started. Up until now, the people in Tianqian City still felt as if they were dreaming. A battle between advanced human supremes was truly fascinating. In fact, after watching the fight between Ningyu and the others, some cultivators with strong comprehension abilities directly broke through the shackles and advanced a step further. Kacha! Not long after Ningyu and the others left, the void above Tianqian City suddenly cracked open. An illusory figure appeared. A huge battle just happened. The figure frowned and unleashed his senses, enveloping the entire Tianqian City. A moment later, the figure retracted his senses and revealed a shocked expression. An 8th grade human supremacy actually participated in the battle. Not simple. Buzz. As his voice landed, the figure turned even more illusory and eventually disappeared. Rustle. At the same time, in a dense forest to the west of Tianqian City, several figures flashed past. These figures were none other than Ningyu and the rest who had just left Tianqian City. Having tasted the sweetness from the evil lord, the sapling took the initiative to guide Ningyu to the location of the Pill Cavern. With the sapling's guidance, Ningyu and the rest traveled at full speed without slowing down at all. After traveling for about 3 to 4 hours, Ningyu and the others finally stopped in front of a cave. Gulp! Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, the Dark Emperor pointed to the cave in front of him and said, "Don't tell me that this cave is the entrance to the Pill Cave?" The Dark Emperor's scalp went numb. It was not because the entrance of the cave was too narrow, but because there were 3 terrifying monsters crawling in front of the cave. The cultivation of the 3 demonic beasts had reached the terrifying initial 7th grade sovereign realm. Not far from the cave, the Dark Emperor could sense an even more terrifying aura. Late 7th grade human supreme martial artist. A few dozen feet away from the entrance of the cave, there was a huge object standing tall. That behemoth's cultivation had reached the terrifying late-stage 7th grade human supreme master realm. Among their group, the Sword of Evil was a 7th grade sovereign realm martial artist. The Talisman Supremacy was a 5th grade sovereign realm martial artist. Yunmu was a 3rd grade sovereign realm martial artist. The Dark Emperor himself was a 2nd grade sovereign realm martial artist, and Ningyu was only a 1st grade sovereign realm martial artist. Although he had recovered to his peak, it was still extremely dangerous to face 3 7th grade sovereign realm demonic beasts and a 7th grade sovereign realm martial artist in the cave. Sword of Evil, how long will it take you to kill the 7th grade sovereign realm demonic beast in the cave? Ningyu ignored the Dark Emperor and said to the Sword of Evil, "We can only hold the 3 7th grade sovereign realm demonic beasts for half an hour at most. In other words, you only have half an hour to kill the demonic beasts in the cave." "Half an hour is more than enough," the Sword of Evil said in a deep voice. The law of space was still with the Sword of Evil, so the Sword of Evil was confident that he could kill the demonic beasts of the same cultivation within half an hour. "Ningyu, it seems like the 3 demonic beasts have no ill intentions towards us." At this moment, the Talisman Supremacy frowned and said doubtfully, "Talisman Supremacy, don't be fooled by the illusion." Ningyu said in a deep voice, "The reason why these demonic beasts have no ill intentions towards us is because they are listening to the orders of the demonic beast in the cave. The demonic beast in the cave is currently devouring pure Yuan Qi pills to increase its strength. If I'm not wrong, the evil lord and the demonic beast must have reached some sort of agreement. The evil lord will provide the demonic beast with pure Yuan Qi pills for it to consume. As for the demonic beast, it will be responsible for guarding the cave not allowing anyone to step into it. What exactly is in the cave for the evil lord to pay such a huge price to seal it? The talisman, Supremacy, frowned. You'll know once you enter. The things in the cave will definitely surprise you. Ning Yu did not want to explain too much to the talisman, Supremacy. He wielded the red demon sword and slashed out, sending a huge sword ray towards one of the early stage, 7th grade, Supremacy, demonic beasts. Apart from Dan Qi, Ning Yu was probably the only one who knew about the situation in the cave. Resources. There was a huge amount of resources in the cave. The reason why the evil lord did not leave behind a large number of pill puppets in Tianjin City was because he needed to protect this resource storage station. The Eastern Expedition Army had swept through many pill caverns, and every pill cavern had pill puppets. With so many pill puppets, they naturally could not carry them around. Hence, in every city, the pill puppets would choose a pill cavern as a resource storage station, leaving behind the pure Yuan Qi pills and Soul Force pills. I got lucky. The reason why Ningyu knew about it was because of the sapling. After the sapling devoured the evil lord, it did not transfer the pure Yuan Qi to Ningyu. Instead, it transferred an important memory of the evil lord into Ningyu's mind. The memory of the evil lord was about the location of all the resource storage stations of the Eastern Expedition Army. Roar! Before the sword ray that Ningyu slashed out landed on the demonic beast in front of the cave, the demonic beast roared at the sky and tore through the void, charging towards Ningyu. Damn it! Seeing that Ningyu was fighting with one of the demonic beasts, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy exchanged glances and charged out to fight with the other 2 demonic beasts. Swoosh! As for the Sword of Evil, he turned into a shadow and entered the cave through the entrance. His target was the huge creature in the depths of the cave. Uft! As it turned out, Ningyu had obviously underestimated the strength of an early stage, 7th grade, human supreme realm demonic beast. With just one move, he was knocked back dozens of feet by the demonic beast and crashed into a towering tree. Crack! The tree, which was as thick as a person's waist, was broken in half. Heaven and earth palm. At the critical moment, Ningyu channeled the Yuan Qi in his consciousness into his wrist, and at the same time he channeled his early stage 7th grade soul force into his wrist. With a low grunt, Ningyu's right hand moved quickly. Boom! Chapter 1085. A Young Lady Roar. The early stage, 7th grade, sovereign demonic beast that was fighting with Ningyu let out a deafening roar when it saw the blood-red palm print in the air. Crack! The palm print was instantly turned into nothingness by the terrifying shockwave. Retreat! Ningyu was no fool. After failing to defeat the early stage, 7th grade, sovereign demonic beast with 2 moves, he immediately chose to retreat. Swoosh! Swoosh! The Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy did not dare to delay as they quickly followed behind Ningyu and flew into the distance. As it turned out, this method was highly feasible. Seeing Ningyu and the rest escaping, the 3 early stage, 7th grade, sovereign demonic beasts instantly tore through the void and chased after them. Ningyu, we can't keep running like this, right? In the dense forest, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were in front while the 3 demonic beasts followed closely behind. Although Ningyu and the rest were giving it their all, they would probably be caught up in less than 10 minutes if this situation continued. The Dark Emperor complained, "You should have let the Sword of Evil kill these 3 stupid demonic beasts first before dealing with the demonic beast in the cave." Stop talking. The Sword of Evil will need half an hour to kill the demonic beast in the cave. In other words, we have to hold on for at least 30 minutes. Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor and said in a deep voice, "By the time we return, the Sword of Evil will definitely have gotten rid of that demonic beast. How can we hold on for 30 minutes? Not only did the Dark Emperor feel that it was impossible, but even the talisman supremacy was feeling a little hopeless. She had used up all of her trump cards. In her current state, there was no way she could hold on for 30 minutes under the pursuit of the 3 demonic beasts. It's actually not too difficult to hold on for 30 minutes. Ningyu gritted his teeth and said, "Both of you, inject all your vitality and energy into my body. I'll execute the universe palm." Although he had only cultivated the heaven and earth palm to the middle realm, Ningyu was confident that he could rely on the middle realm heaven and earth palm to resist the 3 demonic beasts for 30 minutes. "I'll believe you one more time." Now that it had come to this, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Martial Supremacy had no choice but to trust Ningyu. Universe Palm. Every time the 3 demonic beasts were about to catch up, Ningyu would turn around and send out a palm print. Every time Ningyu sent out a palm print, the 3 demonic beasts would pause for a moment. Just like that, Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, and the others persisted for a full 25 minutes. 5 minutes left. Ningyu had been keeping track of the time. After flying for 15 minutes, Ningyu turned around and rushed back to the cave. Up until now, he was only 5 minutes away from returning to the entrance of the cave. In these last 5 minutes, Ningyu and the others were practically walking on the tip of a knife. In the first minute, the Dark Emperor was almost caught by a demonic beast. In the second minute, the Talisman Martial Supremacy was struck in the right arm by the cold gleam spat out by the demonic beast, causing his arm to stiffen and be unable to move. In the third minute, Ningyu dodged 3 streaks of cold gleam. In the fourth and fifth minute, Ningyu, the Talisman Martial Supremacy, and the rest each suffered an attack from the demonic beast. Sword of Evil. Although they were struck by the demonic beast, Ningyu and the rest still staggered back to the front of the cave. Ningyu yelled, "Hurry up and come out!" However, no matter how Ningyu yelled, there was no response to him. Swoosh! Ningyu hurriedly released his perception power and probed inside the cave. "I'm King crazy!" As soon as his perception power entered the cave, Ningyu cursed. Because the cave was as empty as the wilderness. There was nothing at all. Where's the Sword of Evil? Ningyu was a little puzzled. The Sword of Evil was fighting with the late-stage, 7th grade Supreme demonic beast in the cave. Why was there no trace of him now? You're very puzzled, aren't you? At this moment, a faint laughter came from inside the cave. Who's there? Hearing the laughter, Ningyu's expression turned ugly as he stared at the entrance of the cave. Russell. A moment later, a young lady walked out of the cave slowly. Roar. After the young lady came out, the 3 early-stage, 7th grade Supreme demonic beasts behind Ningyu and the rest all roared at the sky and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Gasp! Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air when he sensed the powerful aura emanating from the young woman. Early stage, 8th grade Supreme demonic beast. The young lady's cultivation had reached the terrifying early stage, 8th grade Supreme demonic beast. The Sword of Evil was only a late stage, 7th grade Supreme demonic beast. He had no chance of winning against the young lady who was an early stage, 8th grade Supreme demonic beast. I got it. Suddenly, the Talisman Supremacy shouted, "You're from the Flower Palace. You were sent by the Palace Master." Swish! As the Talisman Supremacy shouted, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. If the young lady and Supremacy you were the same kind of people, then they would really be doomed today. Talisman Supremacy. The young lady shifted her gaze towards the Talisman Supremacy and said indifferently, "You were sent by the Palace Master to look for the cauldrons. Now, you're actually together with the cauldrons and even joined forces with them to kill Supremacy you and the others. I have to say you're really bold. Forget it." When she spoke up to hear, the young lady waved her hand and said, "Out of consideration for the fact that we're disciples of the Flower Palace, I can spare your lives." Are you a subordinate of the palace master or that mysterious expert? At this moment, the talisman's supremacy had calmed down instead. She took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "If you're a subordinate of the palace master, then I'll listen to you if you want to kill me. But if you're a subordinate of that mysterious expert, then I'll teach you a lesson even if I have to risk my life." The young lady frowned slightly and didn't reply the talisman's supremacy at the first possible moment. Instead, she fell into deep thought. Alas! After a short while, the young lady sighed lightly and said, "To be precise, I'm not a subordinate of the palace master, nor am I a subordinate of that mysterious expert." "What do you mean?" The talisman supremacy spoke coldly. It couldn't be any simpler. Ningyu took a step forward and said, "She's a double agent. She's related to the palace master of the Flower Palace and that mysterious expert as well." "You're very smart." The young lady nodded. "Now I want to know where you've hidden the sword of evil." Ningyu was puzzled. The young lady's following words caused Ningyu's expression to become extremely unsightly. "Truthfully speaking, I don't know who the sword of evil you speak of is, because this cave was empty when I arrived here and there was nothing there." The young lady said, "I was mainly waiting here for your arrival. How did you know we would return?" Ningyu spoke in a low voice. "Our Flower Palace possesses a unique secret technique, and I can rely on it to track the location of any holy maiden," said the young lady indifferently. "Right, where's Yunmu?" The expressions of the talisman's supremacy and Ningyu changed in unison when they heard the young lady, because they didn't see Yunmu in this area. Chapter 1086. Base Camp, the questions that you guys have asked are also what I want to ask. The lady said with her brows slightly knitted. "You want to ask as well?" Ningyu and Venerable Talisman Marshal were dumbfounded, judging from the lady's tone. She didn't seem to be lying. Furthermore, there was no need for her to lie with her cultivation. "Earlier, you guys mentioned that the Sword of Evil is in the cave. I've indeed discovered traces of a battle between experts in the cave. Looks like you guys aren't lying." The lady continued, "Let me introduce myself. You guys can call me Xiaolan. Before we find Yunmu, the two of you have to listen to my instructions." As she spoke, Xiaolan briefly paused before pointing at the Dark Emperor. "That includes that dog. Russell." The Dark Emperor's face was unsightly, but there was nothing he could do. Under the pressure of an initial phase 8th grade sovereign, he couldn't put up any effective resistance. As the saying went, when under someone else's roof, he had no choice but to lower his head. "There's something strange about this cave. The three of you follow me into the cave." After a brief hesitation, Xiaolan's silhouette flashed and she flew into the cave. Ningyu and Venerable Talisman Marshal exchanged a look and could see the helplessness in each other's eyes. "Russell! Russell! Russell!" In the end, Ningyu, Venerable Talisman Marshal, and the Dark Emperor followed behind Xiaolan and entered the cave. Darkness. When Ningyu and the rest entered the cave, their first impression was that it was dark. Extremely dark. Their second impression was that it was extremely dark. This darkness wasn't ordinary. That's because ordinary darkness only required crystals or energy to illuminate the path. This darkness was the kind that even senses couldn't move an inch. Follow me closely. If anyone gets lost, don't blame me for squatting. As an 8th grade sovereign, Xiaolan's senses were powerful, and she could sense a 10-meter radius. But before she could finish her words, her face drastically changed, and she immediately yelled out. Whoosh! Along with Xiaolan's yell, countless arrows shot out from the walls on both sides of the cave and swiftly streaked through space. Block! The Yuan Qi in Xiaolan's spiritual sea emerged, forming a protective Yuan Qi barrier over her head. Although the arrow was huge, it was still defeated by Xiaolan's protective barrier. Who? Xiaolan let out a long sigh of relief. Even though she was an 8th-grade sovereign, she didn't dare to be distracted in such a dangerous place, because the slightest bit of distraction could very possibly lead to a tragic death. Damn it! If it weren't for Palace Master and the mysterious expert specifically asking to bring me back to Yunmu, I wouldn't have foolishly charged into the Pill Venom's resource reserve station. Xia Lan's expression was ugly. As an 8th-grade sovereign, Xia Lan naturally knew that this cave was connected to the Pill Cave, which was the resource storage station of the Pill Puppet in the Great Xia Kingdom. Dan Ho was a terrifying existence. Their resource reserve station must be full of traps. If he guessed correctly, there must be a powerful Pill Puppet guarding the entrance of the Pill Cave. Thank you, Senior. Can you think of a way to light up the surroundings? It's too dangerous for us to advance like this. Ning Yu was well aware of his current situation. There was no turning back. Xia Lan was powerful, but Ning Yu believed that Xia Lan wouldn't care about them if they were in a life-and-death situation. Therefore, it was better to get rid of some obstacles before they encountered danger. I have no choice. Xia Lan didn't want to be entangled with Ning Yu and the rest. She said in a deep voice, "Don't go more than 3 meters away from me. Otherwise, I won't be responsible for your lives." After that, Xia Lan walked into the depths of the cave without looking back. "Ning Yu, do you really have a way to light up the cave?" Venerable Talisman Marshal frowned and asked doubtfully. "I do, but it's a little difficult." Ning Yu said, "What's the difficulty?" Venerable Talisman Marshal asked. "It requires you to inject all your energy into my body, and I'll execute a secret technique to have a 10% chance of lighting up the cave," Ning Yu said solemnly. Venerable Talisman Marshal's face darkened. This was a method. He was just making fun of her. "Sai, let's go. I hope nothing happens to Yunmu and the Sword of Evil." Sighing, Ning Yu quickly walked into the depths of the cave. Rustle. In the pitch-black cave, for figures were moving forward slowly. The one at the front was naturally the early-stage 8th-grade human sovereign, Xia Lan. Behind Xia Lan were Ning Yu, the Dark Emperor, and Venerable Talisman Marshal. Along the way, the Dark Emperor didn't say a word. No one knew what he was thinking. Seeing the Dark Emperor like this, Ning Yu didn't disturb him. Instead, he kept communicating with the Sword of Evil, hoping to contact the Sword of Evil. After all, the Sword of Evil was the strongest fighting force on their side, and he had the law of space. Unfortunately, not only could Ning Yu not contact the Sword of Evil, he couldn't even contact the law of space. Swish! At this moment, several beams of light suddenly shone into the originally pitch-black cave. Every beam of light was as thick as a person's waist, illuminating the pitch-black cave. The Sword of Evil. After the cave was illuminated, Ning Yu shifted his gaze to the front, and his expression changed drastically as he exclaimed in shock. In the narrow passage ahead, the Sword of Evil's eyes were dim and his clothes were tattered. There was a blood-red mark on his forehead. The Pill Puppet Mark. Looking at the mark on the Sword of Evil's forehead, Ning Yu's heart sank to the bottom. The Pill Puppet Mark was a vicious mark of the Pill Puppets. Unless the Pill Puppet who used the mark was killed and forcefully injected energy into the cultivator's body, there was no way to break the Pill Puppet Mark. Of course, it was extremely difficult to kill a Pill Puppet who used the mark. Every Pill Puppet who was qualified to use the Pill Puppet Mark had to be at least a peak 7th-grade human sovereign. Crack! As soon as Ning Yu's voice fell, the space in front of the Sword of Evil suddenly split open, and a figure slowly appeared. As expected, sensing the aura emitted by the Pill Puppet, Ning Yu's expression turned ugly. Peak 7th-grade human sovereign. This Pill Puppet had a peak 7th-grade human sovereign cultivation. Crack! 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 Just as Ning Yu thought he was going to have a huge battle with the Pill Puppet, the space behind the Sword of Evil split open again. 3 equally powerful pill puppets appeared in this area. Without a doubt, the 3 pill puppets that appeared later also had a terrifying peak 7th grade human sovereign cultivation. The appearance of 4 peak 7th grade human sovereigns made Ning Yu's heart sink to the bottom. With 4 pill puppets working together, even Xialan, an early 8th grade human sovereign, might die. Chapter 1087. 1,000 wolves, the 3 of you step back. I'll deal with these people. At the critical moment, Xialan took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Rumble." At this moment, the space in front of the 4 pinnacle 7th grade human sovereign Dan Qi cracked again. This time the crack was huge. Then an unusually large pill puppet slowly walked out of the space. Hiss! Xialan's face turned ugly when she sensed the terrifying aura emitted from the Dan Qi, an initial 8th grade human sovereign. The Dan Qi's cultivation had reached the initial 8th grade human sovereign realm. Xialan could deal with the 4 pinnacle 7th grade human sovereigns, and she could even kill them with a secret technique. But if there was another initial 8th grade human sovereign, even Xialan would be a little worried. Human, I know why you're here, but I'm sorry to tell you that this resource storage station is guarded by us. You're destined to never return. A powerful voice came from the initial 8th grade human sovereign. I want to know where the young lady outside the cave is. Xialan said. That lass? The initial 8th grade human sovereign Danqi was slightly stunned. I've already thrown her into the pill cave. She should be being chased by the Danqi right now. Who knows? She might have already become its meal. Ningyu, I'll think of a way to force them to retreat. You and the talisman supremacy enter the pill cave. You must find Yunmu and bring her out. Xialan's eyes darted around as she tried to think of a countermeasure. Her main target was Yunmu, and her secondary target was Ningyu. Now that Yunmu was thrown into the pill cave, she couldn't go over by herself, so she could only seek help from Ningyu and the talisman supremacy. 3 hours. I can only last for 3 hours. Xialan knew her limits. Under the siege of so many powerful Danqi, it was already her limit to last 3 hours. No problem. Now that things had come to this, Ningyu and Supremacy Talisman Marshal, they all had no other choice. They could only bite the bullet and enter the pill cavern this path. All of you step back. Watch my eyes. Xialan said in a low voice. Go. Obviously, Danny couldn't wait any longer. It was especially so for the early stage 8th grade human sovereign, Dan Ming. He was the first to charge towards Xialan. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Behind him, for peak 7th grade human supreme, venerable Dan puppets, charged out at the same time. Their target was very clear, Xialan. After all, Ningyu and the talisman martial supremacy were not qualified enough to deal with them. They were not worth their time. As long as he killed Xialan first, then went to kill Ningyu and the others, wouldn't that be a piece of cake? 100 flowers bloom. No matter what, Xialan was an initial phase 8th grade sovereign. She raised her hands and barked, Voila! Following Xialan's shout, countless flower petals appeared out of thin air. Insignificant skill. The initial phase 8th grade sovereign realm Dan Qi lightly smiled. If your cultivation had reached the middle phase 8th grade sovereign realm, perhaps I might be fearful. But as of now, you're not my opponent. Xiao. Finishing his words, the Dan Qi turned into an afterimage and charged towards Xialan. At the same time, the other 4 Dan puppets followed suit and charged towards Xialan as well. Ningyu, talisman martial supremacy, if you don't enter the pill cave now, then when? Seeing that the 5 Dan puppets had placed their attention on her, Xialan immediately sent a voice transmission to Ningyu and the talisman martial supremacy. Let's go. Ningyu wasn't an indecisive person. He stomped his feet on the ground and instantly charged forth. Bring the sword of evil. When he passed by the sword of evil, Ningyu grabbed onto the sword of evil's shoulder and dragged him into the pill cave. Crack! When Ningyu and the rest entered the pill cave, the entrance was completely sealed. Haha, looks like your friend is also a fool. There are quite a few 5th-grade Sovereign Dan puppets in the pill cave. Your friend probably wouldn't even last 10 minutes in there. Seeing that Ningyu and the talisman martial supremacy had entered the pill cave, the initial phase 8th-grade Sovereign Dan puppet smiled. You'd better care about yourself. 1,000 flowers bloom. The energy in Xialan's sea of consciousness violently surged as she formed seals with both her hands and executed a terrifying magical art. Boom! While Xialan and Dan Puppet were fighting, Ningyu and the talisman martial supremacy had only taken a few steps forward when they encountered trouble. Looking at the Dan Puppet's army, the talisman martial supremacy's face was extremely dark. Ningyu, I can sense that Yunmu is right behind the Dan Puppet's army. I know that even without you telling me. Ningyu's face was also extremely unsightly. Although the cultivation of the Dan Puppet's army wasn't high, they were all around 2nd-grade Sovereign Realm. But with so many Dan Puppets attacking together, they could still display a terrifying fighting strength. Swish! All of a sudden, the sapling struggled free from the storage ring and floated in front of Ningyu. That's right, the sapling. How did I forget about that? Ningyu nearly jumped up when he saw the sapling. The sapling was the bane of the Dan Puppets. Even the Middle War Sovereigns and East War Sovereigns couldn't escape from being devoured by the sapling. One could imagine how terrified the Dan Puppets were when facing the sapling. Boom! Things were just as Ningyu had guessed. When the Dan Puppets' army saw the sapling, they all revealed terrified expressions. Some of the weaker pill puppets even turned around and fled into the distance. Everyone, don't panic. As long as we capture that cultivator, the sapling will lose its power. There was also a leader among the Dan puppets. A Dan puppet with a cultivation of 3rd-grade Sovereign walked out from the Dan puppets' army and said in a deep voice, "This pill cave is our Dan puppets' resource storage station. Here, we have an endless supply of energy. That young cultivator is only a 1st-grade Sovereign Realm cultivator. How can he fight against us? You're their leader?" Ningyu didn't let the sapling unleash its power for the time being. He wanted to find out how many resources there were in this pill cave. After all, it was known as the Dan Puppets Resource Storage Station. There would definitely be a lot of resources inside. You can call me Thousand Wolf Venerable. The Dan Puppet with a cultivation of 3rd-grade Sovereign Realm said faintly. Thousand Wolf Venerable. Ningyu was slightly stunned. Then he said calmly, "There's something I want to ask. This is the Dan Puppets Resource Storage Station. Why would you shrimp soldiers and crab generals be guarding it? Could it be that the Dan Puppets are all dead? Or are you guys very confident in your own strength?" Crack! Ningyu's questions made the Thousand Wolf Venerable's face turn extremely gloomy. You're just a 1st-grade Sovereign Realm cultivator. What right do you have to say such words to me? No matter what, my cultivation is stronger than yours. You're very arrogant. However, I, the Thousand Wolf Venerable, like to fight with those who think that they're very strong. Chapter 1088. Formation. Are you sure you want to have a fair duel with me? Ningyu looked at Venerable Thousand Wolf with interest as he crossed his arms before his chest and said, "Although I'm only a grade 1 mortal sovereign, you're not much better. You're only a grade 3 mortal sovereign." Haha, overconfidence. Venerable Thousand Wolves said with a smile, "There are at least 81st grade sovereigns that have died in my hands. I don't even need to use my full strength to kill you. I can have a fair duel with you. But before that, I want to see Yunmu." Ningyu said without any change in his expression. "Yunmu? Which one is Yunmu?" Venerable Thousand Wolf knitted his brows. "The woman behind you is Yunmu." Ningyu pointed behind Venerable Thousand Wolf. "Oh, you should have said so earlier." Venerable Thousand Wolves came to a sudden realization. Then he said to the people around him, "Bring that woman over." "Russell! Russell!" Hearing Venerable Thousand Wolf's words, the 2 second-grade sovereign pellet puppets rapidly moved and disappeared in an instant. Soon, Yunmu was brought before Venerable Thousand Wolf. "Have a fair duel with me. As long as you can defeat me, I'll immediately let her go." Venerable Thousand Wolf's tone was emotionless as he spoke. "No problem." Truth be told, Ningyu didn't need to use his full strength against a third-grade sovereign like Venerable Thousand Wolf. In fact, he didn't even need to use 30% of his strength. The reason why Ningyu didn't make a move right away was because he didn't want to alarm Venerable Thousand Wolf and the rest. After all, with Venerable Talisman Marshal here, it wouldn't be right if he didn't save Yunmu. Set up the formation. Right at this moment, Exalt Thousand Wolf waved his hand and spoke in a low voice. "Russell." As Venerable Thousand Wolf said those 2 words, the several pill puppets beside him started to move quickly. 3 minutes later, a circular platform rose from the ground. On the high platform, Venerable Thousand Wolf placed his hands behind his back and said proudly, "Kid, don't say that I didn't warn you. This array formation is very special. Once someone enters, someone must die to break it. As long as no one dies, the array formation will continue to exist. Talisman, Martial Sovereign, Dark Emperor, both of you must be careful when I enter the formation. If anything happens, immediately save Yunmu." Ningyu narrowed his eyes and secretly transmitted his voice to the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Martial Supremacy. "When the time comes, I will let the sapling help you." "Shio." With that said, Ningyu stomped on the ground and flew to the high platform in the blink of an eye. "You are very confident in your own strength." Venerable Thousand Wolves stared at Ningyu and said indifferently, "But now that you're facing me, you're destined to die with a grievance." "I'm very curious. Why do you think you've got me?" Ningyu was puzzled. "Hee, it's not that I think I've got you. I just know what the sapling outside is." Venerable Thousand Wolves first smiled and then whispered in a language that only Ningyu and himself could hear. "That's the World Tree!" "Since you know it's the World Tree, why do you still want to fight me?" Ningyu had already guessed that Venerable Thousand Wolves would say that. "It's very simple. Before the evil lord died, he sent back a message saying that the World Tree has reappeared. He told us to set up the array here and wait." Venerable Thousand Wolves' lips curled up and said, "According to the evil lord's intention, he wanted to send such an important message to the Eastern Expedition Army's headquarters. Now, it seems like there's no need for that." Ningyu's expression was very cold, and he even felt some lingering fear. Fortunately, Venerable Thousand Wolves was rather stupid. If he really did as the evil lord said and sent the message to the Eastern Expedition Army's headquarters, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Do you know how pigs die?" Thinking about it, Ningyu locked his aura onto Venerable Thousand Wolves. "How did they die?" Venerable Thousand Wolves frowned. "Stupid pig." As he spoke, Ningyu turned into an afterimage, and his figure instantly shot out. Child's play. Facing Ningyu, Venerable Thousand Wolves clearly did not put him in his eyes. In his view, how capable could a first-grade mortal sovereign be? The reason why the evil lord and the others were killed was because of the World Tree outside the array. Now that he was separated by the array, the World Tree couldn't do anything to him. I'll show you the peerless genius of the Pill Pavilion. Twisting his neck, Venerable Thousand Wolves' cold voice slowly resounded. Boom! However, before Venerable Thousand Wolves could finish his words, he felt his body lighten and was sent flying. Only when his body hit the edge of the array did Venerable Thousand Wolves stop. Uft! Venerable Thousand Wolves spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned extremely dark. Brat, I'm going to skin you alive. Venerable Thousand Wolves clenched his fists and roared. There are plenty of people who want to skin me alive. Who the hell do you think you are? In the beginning, Ningyu thought that Venerable Thousand Wolves was powerful. Who could have thought that he was just a wax figure that looked impressive but was useless? Just a single move without even using 50% of his strength had heavily injured Venerable Thousand Wolves. One could imagine that if Ningyu used his full strength, Venerable Thousand Wolves would definitely die. Boom! Among the pill puppets in the resource reserve station, Venerable Thousand Wolves was considered extremely powerful. Even some of the 5th grade mortal sovereigns weren't as powerful as him. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe Venerable Thousand Wolves as an overlord. However, this overlord was easily defeated by Ningyu in a single move. For a moment, the pill puppets around the array revealed looks of disbelief. Ah! As for Venerable Thousand Wolves, he felt that he had lost all his face and let out a hysterical roar. I'll kill you! Venerable Thousand Wolves had never been so humiliated before. He had to get back at Lin Fan, no matter what. With a loud roar, the Thousand Wolves Venerable moved swiftly and appeared in front of Ningyu in an instant. A punch, with an extremely violent fluctuation of yuan qi, fiercely smashed toward Ningyu's head. Venerable Thousand Wolves' plan was simple. I'll kill you with my strongest punch. Control over the world tree? To hell with it. I'll say it again. There are plenty of people who want me dead. Who the hell do you think you are? Ningyu shrugged. Then he bent his legs slightly and gathered all the energy in his sea of consciousness around his fist. Then he threw a backhand punch at Venerable Thousand Wolf's fist. Crack! The two fists collided. An extremely crisp voice rang out. Venerable Thousand Wolf's body was sent flying again. Puffed, puffed, puffed. Compared to the previous time, Venerable Thousand Wolves was in a much more dangerous situation this time. His aura had dropped to the freezing point and his face had turned extremely pale. Venerable Thousand Wolves, I initially wanted to spare your life. However, you said that the array can only be unlocked after one person dies. Since that's the case, I can only apologize to you. Chapter 1089. Crack! What are you doing? After being defeated by Ningyu twice in a row, Venerable Thousand Wolves finally understood. He was no match for Ningyu. Although it was a sad thing, he had to admit it. You should know very well what I'm doing, Ningyu said as he walked. Don't come over. I know how to crack this formation. You don't have to die to crack it. Venerable Thousand Wolves howled like a madman. Energy. As long as you have a large amount of energy, I can find a way to crack this formation. My energy is mine. Why should I let you use it to crack the formation? Ningyu stopped in his tracks and asked doubtfully, Won't the formation be broken if I kill you? How simple. No, it's not like that. This formation is very special. It's not something that can be automatically broken just by killing me. Venerable Thousand Wolves' worries eased a little when he saw that Ningyu had stopped. He hurriedly said, Only I can completely crack this formation. Sounds better than a song, Ningyu shrugged. I have a few questions for you. As long as you answer them honestly, I'll provide you with energy. Ningyu paused for a moment before he continued. First question, how many pill puppets are stronger than you in this resource depot? Venerable Thousand Wolves shook his head. None. I'm the strongest here. All the pill puppets have to be controlled by me. If you're not willing to tell the truth, I'll have to send you to hell. Ningyu frowned. I can still crack this formation after I kill you. Buzz. Following that, Ningyu unleashed his aura and suppressed the 1,000-wolf supremacy all at once. Uft. Venerable 1,000 Wolves was already severely injured. Now that he was being suppressed by Ningyu's aura, he spat out a mouthful of blood and trembled all over. I don't want to repeat myself. Ningyu withdrew his aura and said indifferently, aside from me, there are also 2 late-stage, 6th-grade human supremacy Dan puppets. After tasting the bitterness, Venerable 1,000 Wolf became obedient and said, the 2 late-phase 6th-grade Sovereign Realm Dan puppets are currently in seclusion, devouring energy. If nothing goes wrong, they should come out in about half an hour. At that time, their cultivation should be able to reach the pinnacle 6th-grade Sovereign Realm. The second question, where are the resources in this resource reserve station? Ningyu frowned slightly and continued to ask. I can't tell you that. You have to promise not to kill me. Venerable 1,000 Wolf knew that this was his bottom line. Once he revealed it, the consequences would be unimaginable. You won't tell me? Ningyu raised his brows and sighed. Sigh, since you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, there is no need for me to keep you here. Ningyu's body gradually became illusory as soon as he finished the word. Not good. Seeing that Ningyu had disappeared, Venerable 1,000 Wolf instantly sensed that something was amiss and immediately yelled, You can't puff! However, as soon as Venerable 1,000 Wolf's words were heard, they were interrupted by the sound of blood being spat out. Venerable 1,000 Wolf crashed onto the platform with a metallic taste coming from his throat, causing him to spurt a few mouthfuls of blood. There's only one chance, and it has always been given to those who are prepared. Ningyu moved his feet and came before Venerable 1,000 Wolf. The reason why I'm killing you is because of them. As he spoke, Ningyu raised his right hand and pointed towards the distance. Venerable Gong, Venerable Fong. The 1,000 Wolves' Venerable's face was filled with despair when he saw the 2 figures speeding over from afar. That's because the 2 silhouettes were yelling as they flew. Go, all of you go. Capture that black dog and that 5th-grade human Supreme Zune dead or alive. With Venerable Gong and Venerable Fong's actions, how could Venerable 1,000 Wolf survive? After all, in Ningyu's view, there was no point in keeping a disobedient pill puppet alive. Therefore, Ningyu raised his right foot and stomped on Venerable 1,000 Wolf's chest. Arg, I hate this. Venerable 1,000 Wolf still couldn't figure it out. How could Ningyu, who was only a 1st-grade sovereign, possess such heaven-defying strength? Crack. As it turned out, Venerable 1,000 Wolf wasn't lying. As soon as he died, the high platform collapsed with a loud bang, and the surrounding formation also disappeared. Rustle. Shortly after, Venerable Gong and Venerable Fong also descended upon this region. If I have guessed correctly, the 2 of you should be the strongest pill puppets in this resource reserve station. Ningyu locked his aura on Venerable Gong and Venerable Fong as he spoke. Brat, you're arrogant, Venerable Gong coldly said. The 2 of us are pinnacle 6th-grade sovereigns, while you're only a 1st-grade sovereign. I don't know where your confidence comes from. Could it be that your confidence comes from killing Venerable 1,000 Wolf? Venerable Fong, who was beside Venerable Gong, asked in doubt. Neither. Ningyu shook his head and said, My confidence comes from my powerful strength. Powerful strength? Venerable Gong and Venerable Fong were stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. After laughing, Venerable Gong coldly said, Brat, you're the most arrogant human we've ever seen. What a load of nonsense. Ning, you couldn't be bothered to waste time with Venerable Gong and Venerable Fong. With a thought, he controlled the sapling to fly before him. Since we dared to come over, we're not afraid of this thing. Venerable Gong coldly said, "Bring it over!" Boom, boom, boom. As Venerable Gong's words landed, smoke billowed from afar. Hundreds and thousands of pill puppets appeared. Above their heads, there was a colossal being that was emitting a terrifying aura. Unconscious pill puppet. Ning Yu's gaze first landed on the numerous half-step Supreme Being elixir puppets, before finally shifting to the massive being above their heads. Calling it a colossal being was actually a little exaggerated. Pill puppets. Unconscious pill puppets. The true identity of the colossal being should be the unconscious pill puppet, with a cultivation of pinnacle 7th grade sovereign realm. Although the sapling can restrain the pill puppets, it shouldn't be of much use to this unconscious pill puppet, right? Venerable Gong pointed at the unconscious pill puppet in the sky and said, "Without the help of the sapling, we can exhaust you to death even if we take turns to fight you." Aren't those two old fellows just at Pinnacle's 6th grade sovereign realm? At this moment, the Dark Emperor couldn't bear to watch any longer as he said in disdain, "The number of Pinnacle's 6th grade sovereigns that died in our hands is uncountable. Right? You should know about the evil lord, right? He died in the hands of Ningyu." Crack! Hearing till here, Venerable Fong clenched his fists as the ferocity on his face grew even more evident. Perhaps Venerable Gong might not have any reaction to the death of the evil lord, but Venerable Fong had a huge reaction. That's because the relationship between the evil lord and Venerable Fong wasn't ordinary. It could be said that without the evil lord, Venerable Fong would have long been killed. Today all of you must die. Chapter 1090. Charge! I've heard those words dozens of times, but I'm still alive and well. Facing Venerable Fong's threatening words, Ningyu lightly smiled and did not place it in his heart. Venerable Fong was only a pinnacle 6th grade sovereign. His strength wasn't sufficient to kill him. Furthermore, even with Venerable Gong, who was a pinnacle 6th grade sovereign, they could only gain the upper hand against him. At the very least, it would be impossible for them to kill him in a short period of time. Arrogant. Venerable Fong's gaze turned cold as he soared from the ground and flew out. Sizzle! Sizzle! At this moment, Venerable Fong only had a single thought in his heart. That was to kill Ningyu and turn Ningyu into ashes. Venerable Fong, don't be rash. Seeing Venerable Fong charging out, Venerable Gong immediately said, "He has that thing. You're not his opponent." Venerable Gong was so furious that his lungs were about to explode. Before they came, they had already discussed that they would rely on the unconscious pellet puppets to deal with Ningyu. But now Venerable Fong had actually acted on his own. "Go, all of you, go. No matter what, we have to hold back the sapling and not let it have its hands free." Venerable Gong was truly a pinnacle 6th grade sovereign. He had quickly thought of a countermeasure. To reduce the danger to the minimum, he had decided to sacrifice the pellet puppets, a large amount of them. Compared to Venerable Fong's life, those 1st and 2nd grade pellet puppets were no different from cannon fodder. Sizzle! If it wasn't for Ningyu's suppression, the sapling would have already started a massacre here. It was the world tree, so when it encountered such a vast amount of energy, it wouldn't be able to live without devouring it. Now that so many pellet puppets were coming to die, the sapling was naturally excited. Whoosh! 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 Under the frenzied state, the sapling instantly unleashed a terrifying devouring power. Rustle! The 1st and 2nd grade pellet puppets that were charging towards it were practically devoured in an instant. What? The sudden change caused Venerable Gong's face to drastically change as he immediately said, "Retreat, retreat! Let the unconscious pellet puppets make their move." Boom! 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 As the words left Venerable Gong's mouth, the unconscious pill puppet in the distance moved its feet and charged towards the sapling. "Dark Emperor, what should we do?" Ning Yu was battling with Venerable Fong while the sapling was dealing with the Tier 1 and Tier 2 pill puppets. At this moment, the talisman Martial Supremacy's eyes were a little flustered as he said to the Dark Emperor, "Fight or run?" "Run. Do you think we can escape?" The Dark Emperor's expression turned cold as he said, "You take Yunmu, and I will take the Sword of Evil. We will hide behind the sapling for now and wait for Ningyu to come. Wait for Ningyu." Ningyu, he. The talisman Supremacy opened her mouth slightly and was about to say something when she turned her head and saw a shocking scene. Rumble. In midair, two figures were fighting. The two sides of the battle were naturally Ningyu and Venerable Fong. Why is this kid so powerful? After forcing Ningyu back with a single move, a cold expression appeared on Venerable Fong's face. He thought to himself, "If I use my full strength, I can only resist him. There's no way I can kill him." "Humph, brat, you're already an arrow at the end of its flight. Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better surrender. Otherwise, I will let you die a horrible death." Although he was shocked in his heart, Venerable Fong coldly snorted. "You're only a first-grade human sovereign, while I'm a sixth-grade human sovereign. I can kill you with a wave of my hand." Hearing Venerable Fong's words, Ningyu was a little speechless. "To think that you've reached the pinnacle of the sixth-grade human sovereign realm. Who said that a first-grade human sovereign can't confront a sixth-grade human sovereign?" Ningyu cast his lips aside and continued, "According to what you've said, the deaths of the evil lord, Middle War Sovereign, and Eastern War Sovereign should have nothing to do with me. You." Venerable Fong's face was extremely dark. Instead of mocking, he was ridiculed. Venerable Fong couldn't swallow this insult. What a sharp tongue. "Since that's the case, I'll let you know how powerful I am." A frightening light shot out of Venerable Fong's eyes. The primal chi in his sea of consciousness churned and wrapped around his wrist. Sizzle, sizzle. The energy fluctuation on his fist caused sizzling sounds to explode in space. "This day next year will be the anniversary of your death." A cold voice resounded as Venerable Fong's silhouette suddenly disappeared. "Rustle." In that instant before Venerable Fong disappeared, Ningyu had already realized the severity of the situation. The situation isn't looking good. I have to kill Venerable Fong. Turning his head to look at the Dark Emperor and the rest, who were bitterly holding on, Ningyu immediately communicated with the law of space. The world tree could restrain Danzhong, causing him to fear it. There was another thing that could also cause Danzhong to be worried. The law of space. What Danzhong feared the most was the world tree. What he feared next was the law of space. Attack! Initially, the law of space was with the Sword of Evil. But now, the Sword of Evil had suffered heavy injuries with a mark of Danzhong on his forehead, making him look like a dead dog. If he couldn't deal with the Sword of Evil, even if Ningyu and the rest woke him up, it would be useless. On the contrary, he would become food for Danzhong. Swoosh! The law of space had a great sense of belonging to Ningyu. After leaving the Sword of Evil's body, the law of space instantly arrived in front of Ningyu and floated above his head. Not good. Seeing the law of space above Ningyu's head, Venerable Fong's expression changed drastically and he immediately retreated. Venerable Fong knew his own limitations. Originally, he could only be evenly matched with Ningyu and had no way of killing Ningyu. Now that Ningyu had the law of space, what could he use to fight Ningyu? If he continued to fight, only death awaited him. Venerable Gong, hurry up and let the unconscious Danzhong come over. Let's kill Ningyu first. Venerable Fong shouted at Venerable Gong as he fled. At this moment, Venerable Gong was sitting on the shoulder of the unconscious Danzhong with a vicious expression. Hearing Venerable Fong's roar, he injected his perception into the unconscious Danzhong's mind and controlled it to give up on the sapling and attack Ningyu instead. Don't bother about me first. Cooperate with the sapling and devour all the danjong in the surroundings. At this critical moment, not only did Ningyu not let the Dark Emperor and the rest return to help, he even told the Dark Emperor to cooperate with the sapling and devour the danjong in the surroundings. All right. The Dark Emperor was the purple gold sky devouring dog, the emperor of the sky devouring dog clan. Roar! Now that things had come to this, he no longer hid. Instead, he roared at the sky, and his body immediately grew several times larger. Behind him, a pair of purple wings flapped continuously. Purple gold sky, devouring dog. The sudden change caused Venerable Talisman Wu's mouth to gape slightly, feeling that it was unrealistic. She had always felt that the Dark Emperor was very special, but she did not know that the Dark Emperor was the purple gold sky devouring dog. I'm going to devour all of you. After revealing his true form, the Dark Emperor's combat strength instantly doubled. Chapter 1091. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, the Dark Emperor was no longer the same as before. His cultivation had reached second grade sovereign, and after reverting to his original form, there was a clear increase in his strength. It wasn't difficult for him to deal with the pill puppets that were only in the first and second grade sovereign realms. Facing the powerful attacks of the Dark Emperor, several pill puppets couldn't even resist for a second before they were devoured. Hiss! The violent actions of the Dark Emperor caused Venerable Talisman Marshal to suck in a cold breath. Although Venerable Talisman Marshal was stronger than the Dark Emperor in terms of strength, he didn't dare to devour those pill puppets for no reason. Perhaps only an ancient clan like the Dark Emperor could devour the pill puppets without a change in expression. Ark! The combined might of the Dark Emperor and the sapling was extremely powerful. Practically in an instant, more than half of the pill puppets in the cavern had died. Boom! On the other hand, Ning Yu's situation wasn't looking good. Venerable Fong did not hesitate to ignite his vitality to increase his strength, causing Ning Yu to be unable to kill him in a short period of time. On the contrary, Ning Yu was struck in the chest by Venerable Fong in a moment of carelessness, and his body flew out. Venerable Fong, come over quickly. Seeing that Venerable Fong had succeeded, Venerable Gong, who was on the shoulder of the pill puppet, immediately yelled out, "Let's go." Venerable Fong knew that he wasn't Ning Yu's opponent, so he tore space apart and charged towards the pill puppet. Slash! How could Ning Yu let Venerable Fong escape? Ning Yu knew that he couldn't let the tiger return to the mountain. Therefore, Ning Yu channeled the vitality in his spiritual consciousness into the red demon sword. At the same time, he also channeled his 7th grade mid-stage soul power into the red demon sword. Whoosh! Not only was the sword light massive, it was also extremely powerful. A crack was torn open in space, and the sword light entered the crack, appearing beside Venerable Fong. No. Uft! Venerable Fong's perception was still very strong. As soon as the sword light appeared, he realized that something was wrong. He used all his strength so that he could reach Venerable Gong's side as soon as possible. Dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. Even though Venerable One Fong reacted in time, he was still half a beat too late. The sword light tore through the void and slashed at his chest. Venerable Fong's face darkened as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The defeat this time could not be described as an unexpected turn of events, because even if he fought against Ning Yu fair and square, there was no way he could win. At best, it could only be regarded as arrogant and conceited. What the F***CK are you waiting for? Hurry up and come over. Seeing that Venerable Fong was slightly stunned, Venerable Gong immediately shouted, Yes, let's hurry over. The more confused they were, the less organized they would be. Venerable Fong was only focused on spacing out. He did not even think of escaping. Puff! However, it was already too late for Venerable Fong to leave after such a long time. Lowering his head to look at the crimson flying sword in his heart, Venerable Fong extended his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. "How are you so powerful? How did you do it?" Halfway through his words, Venerable Fong's head tilted and he fell to the ground. At this moment, the pinnacle 6th grade human sovereign realm Dan puppet, Venerable Fong, had died in battle. Boom! Venerable Fong's sudden death made Venerable Gong's head feel as if it had exploded. A pinnacle 6th grade human sovereign, Venerable Fong, whose strength was on par with him, was killed just like that? Venerable Gong did not dare to believe this fact. In the beginning, he thought that the few cultivators that had entered the pill cave wouldn't be that strong due to their low cultivation. Even if they had saplings, he wouldn't be afraid. After all, he had a powerful unconscious Dan puppet. But from the looks of it, it wasn't that simple. "Brat, I admit that you're strong. But if you want to fight with this unconscious Dan puppet, you're clearly lacking." Taking a deep breath, Venerable Gong tried his best to calm himself down. In fact, Venerable Gong's eyeballs turned, and he started to negotiate with Ningyu. "Let's make a deal. I won't let the unconscious Dan puppet kill you, and you get your friend to stop." Venerable Gong was very clear about the destructive power of the purple gold sky devouring hound and the saplings. If he allowed them to continue like this, it wouldn't be long before all the Dan puppets in the pill cave would be devoured, except for him. This was the resource storage station of the Eastern Expedition Army. Once all the Dan puppets were devoured, this pill cave would completely explode. At that time, no one would be able to survive. If he didn't want the pill cave to explode, he had to at least leave one Dan puppet behind. Of course, Venerable Gong would not tell Ningyu about this for the time being. He was only negotiating with Ningyu first. "My friend, I can't give you orders." Ningyu said indifferently, "If you really want to make a deal with me, then first tell me where the resources in this pill cave are stored. Get them to stop. I'll bring you there right now." Venerable Gong said solemnly. "Dark Emperor, sapling, stop first." After a moment of silence, Ningyu could only choose to compromise for the time being. Ningyu did not have absolute confidence in dealing with the unconscious Dan puppet. Since Venerable Gong wanted to stop temporarily, he was happy to be at ease. He could use this time to digest the Dan puppets he devoured and adjust his mental state to its peak. Why stop? I can feel that if I devour all these guys, I can even advance to the 3rd grade Human Supreme Realm, or even the 4th grade Human Supreme Realm. The Dark Emperor's face was filled with depression as he grumbled. Although he was grumbling, the Dark Emperor knew that he had to stop. Unintentionally recognizing a pill puppet was no joke. Since the Dark Emperor had stopped, the saplings naturally stopped devouring as well. "Follow me." Seeing that the Dark Emperor and the rest had stopped devouring the Dan puppets, Venerable Gong brought the unconscious Dan puppet and walked towards the depths of the pill cave. Behind Venerable Gong, Ningyu and the rest looked at each other before following unhurriedly. "Ningyu, what should we do later?" The Dark Emperor was not a fool. He knew that Ningyu definitely had his reasons for choosing to believe in Venerable Gong. "We'll act according to the circumstances. Venerable Gong wants to kill me. I want to kill Venerable Gong too. It's that simple." Ningyu left behind this indifferent sentence and no longer spoke. The Dark Emperor's face was filled with black lines. Everyone understood the current situation. Venerable Gong was afraid that the unconscious Dan puppet was not Ningyu's match. After all, Ningyu had easily killed Venerable Fong. Ningyu was afraid that the unconscious Dan puppet was too strong for him to deal with. Both sides were suspicious and gradually came to a consensus. No one would make the first move. According to Ningyu's guess, Venerable Gong would probably attack once they reached the place where the resources were stored. At that time, a huge battle would be unavoidable. Therefore, on the way, Ningyu tried his best to recover and adjust his mental state to its peak. Moreover, Ningyu had arranged everything. Chapter 1092. 3. Saint Fruit Whoosh. There was a saying that went like this. Plans couldn't keep up with changes. Ningyu had just arranged everything when the situation suddenly changed. The surrounding space split apart and 4 figures appeared in this region. Pinnacle, 6th grade, human sovereign. Looking at the 4 figures, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. Because those 4 figures weren't Dan Qi, but humans. For humans controlled by Venerable Gong and the rest. Venerable Gong, do you think that you can kill me with those 4 pieces of trash? Although he was worried, Ningyu maintained an indifferent expression. If I can kill Venerable Fong, then I can kill them as well. Haha, I know that you can kill them. I summon them not to kill you, but to hold you back. Venerable Gong said with a smile. The resource storage point is up ahead. I'll let the unconscious Dan Qi devour some energy and let it advance to 8th grade human sovereign in a short period of time. You could kill Venerable Fong because he was only a pinnacle 6th grade human sovereign. If I raise the cultivation of the unconscious Dan Qi to 8th grade human sovereign, what else can you use to fight me? Ha ha ha. After laughing wildly, Venerable Gong raised his right hand and suddenly patted the shoulder of the unconscious Dan Qi. Boom. The unconscious Dan Qi received the message and immediately sprinted into the distance. Stop him. Since his plan had already been disrupted, Ningyu couldn't be bothered anymore. He left and immediately tore through the void, charging towards Venerable Gong. Whoosh! 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 Evidently, the 4 pinnacle 6th grade human sovereigns wouldn't allow Ningyu to get past them. They stood side by side, firmly blocking Ningyu's path. Furthermore, the 4 pinnacle 6th grade human sovereigns were extremely powerful, only slightly weaker than Venerable Fong. With the 4 of them blocking him, Ningyu wasn't 100% confident that he could get past them. Ningyu, leave the 4 of them to us. You must kill Venerable Gong. As long as you kill him, the unconscious Dan puppet will lose control. At that time, everyone will be safe. At the critical moment, Talisman Martial Supremacy shouted. All right. Ningyu nodded without much hesitation when he heard Venerable Talisman Martial Venerable's words. Go. The Talisman Supremacy, the Dark Emperor, and the sapling charged out in unison and engaged in a great battle with the 4 peak grade 6 human supremacies. As for the Sword of Evil and Yunmu, since their consciousness was blurry and they did not have much fighting power, Ningyu temporarily left them here and went to chase after Honorable Gong alone. The Sword of Evil at his peak would naturally be of help. In his current state, the Sword of Evil couldn't even protect himself, let alone help. Whoosh! In order to catch up to Honorable Gong earlier, Ningyu drew out the energy in his consciousness and wrapped it around his ankle. As the energy burned, Ningyu's speed increased. You want to catch me? Venerable Gong turned around and looked at Ningyu. The corner of his lips rose as he took out a piece of royal grade origin crystal and threw it into the mouth of the unconscious Dan puppet. I'm going to eat it. Venerable Gong's actions caused the corner of Ningyu's lips to twitch a few times. You only fed a piece of royal grade origin crystal to an unconscious Dan puppet at the peak grade 7 human supremacy realm? Haha. Clearly, Venerable Gong had guessed what Ningyu was thinking. He took out a storage pouch and smiled at Ningyu before throwing the storage pouch into the mouth of the unconscious Dan puppet. F***CK this crystal. This time, Ningyu's face was filled with shock. Royal grade origin crystals. The storage pouch was filled with royal grade origin crystals. The amount was at least in the tens of thousands. Tens of thousands of royal grade origin crystals were thrown into the mouth of the unconscious Dan puppet by Venerable Gong without so much as a frown. What a waste! Moreover, Venerable Gong took out so many royal-grade origin crystals not to increase the strength of the Dan puppet, but to increase its speed. Whoosh! After swallowing and refining tens of thousands of royal-grade origin crystals, the speed of the unconscious Dan puppet had a qualitative increase. Originally, Ning Yu could still follow closely behind him, but with Venerable Gong's actions, forget about following behind, he could not even see his back. Since Venerable Gong is willing to take out so many royal-grade origin crystals, it means that the resources in this pill cavern are huge. Ning Yu could guess that the resources in this pill cavern would probably reach a terrifying level. Describing it as rich as a country would be very appropriate. Speed up! No matter how many resources there were, if he could not catch up to Venerable Gong and delay the unconscious Dan puppet, then everything would be futile. In order to catch up to the Dan puppet, Ningyu had no choice but to ignite his blood essence to increase his speed. Chi. After igniting his blood essence, Ningyu's speed increased by several folds. From the start, Venerable Gong was far away, but he gradually pulled back. What kind of freak is this? Venerable Gong thought that after using tens of thousands of royal-grade origin crystals, he would be able to shake off Ningyu for sure. Who would have thought that Ningyu would catch up again? I don't believe it. With a cold expression, Venerable Gong took out another storage pouch and threw it into the Dan puppet's mouth. Boom! As the storage pouch entered its stomach, the unconscious Dan puppet instantly erupted, and its speed increased by several folds. Haha! In another 3 minutes, I will reach the place where the resources are stored. At that time, I will feed the Dan puppet some heaven-defying elixirs, allowing its cultivation to reach the 8th grade human supreme realm in a short period of time. I don't believe that I can't kill you then. Turning back to look at Ningyu, who was gradually getting further away, Venerable Gong said with a faint smile. In the first 2 minutes, Venerable Gong was still a little worried, but in the 3rd minute he was completely relieved. After such a long time, Ningyu had not caught up. In the last minute, Ningyu would definitely not be able to catch up. Hua! After 3 minutes, Ningyu still had not caught up. In order to confirm that Ningyu had not left, Venerable Gong extended his perception and carefully probed the surroundings. A moment later, Venerable Gong took a deep breath and slowly retracted his perception. After a minute of probing, Venerable Gong finally confirmed that Ningyu had not caught up. Luckily, the resources of the entire pill cavern were stored in the natural cave. Otherwise, wouldn't they have snatched the resources stored at the entrance of the pill cavern? Venerable Gong felt a little scared. It was just as he had thought. If the resources were all stored at the entrance of the pill cavern, then Ningyu would definitely store all the resources and leave the pill cavern open. Venerable Gong formed seals in the air before suddenly pointing his finger. Bang! A cold light shot out from Venerable Gong's right hand and struck the stone door of the cave in the distance. Creak! The stone door seemed to be pushed by someone as it slowly opened. Not bad, not bad. The trisaint fruit is about to ripen. As long as I devour and refine it, my cultivation can even rise to the 7th grade human supreme realm. Chapter 1093. Get rid of one. You come here too. Coming to the entrance of the cave in a few steps, Lord Gong paused for a moment, turned around, and waved his hand at the unintentional sense pellet puppet, saying, "Guard the stone door without my permission. No one is to let them take half a step into the cave." After thinking about it, Master Gong still felt uneasy. He stood at the entrance of the cave and slammed his hands against the stone walls on both sides. Rumble! The stone wall let out a rumbling sound and quickly returned to its original state. Not bad. Venerable Gong nodded his head slightly and walked into the depths of the cave without looking back. Buzz! Not long after Venerable Gong entered the cave, Ningyu appeared from the void at the side. It was not that Ningyu did not catch up to Venerable Gong, but he did not let Venerable Gong discover him. Along the way, Ningyu constantly avoided the probing of Venerable Gong's perception. There were even a few times when he was almost discovered by Venerable Gong. He might as well drag it out for 3 minutes and finally followed Venerable Gong to this area. 3 sacred fruits. Ningyu squinted his eyes, and an excited look appeared on his face. The Trinity fruit was good stuff. According to Ningyu's guess, as long as he could consume the Tri-Saint fruit, he would be able to easily advance to 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist. With Ningyu's current strength, he could kill a pinnacle 6th grade sovereign, but he still couldn't confront a 7th grade sovereign. However, if he were to advance to 2nd grade Human Supreme Martial Artist, he would even be able to fight against an early 7th grade Human Supreme Martial Artist. In fact, if he used his trump card unexpectedly, he could even kill him. If you want to obtain the 3 sacred fruits, you must pass through the cave. Ningyu was secretly thinking of countermeasures. The unintentional consciousness pill puppet was only relatively strong, but its perception was not too powerful. Ningyu was confident that he could deceive everyone. However, Ningyu did not have absolute confidence in breaking the formation at the entrance of the cave. Before Venerable Gong left, he patted the stone wall with both hands. His purpose was to activate the formation at the entrance of the cave. Obviously, Master Gong had done it. I wonder if this cave has another entrance or exit. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu released all of his perception, hoping to find another exit. The Dark Emperor and the Talisman Martial Supremacy were in a dangerous situation. Outside the Pill Cave, Xiaolon was also in a bad situation. Ningyu knew what his mission was. He had to kill Venerable Gong, then control the pill puppet of unintentional sense to leave the pill cavern and help Xiaolon. At that time, not only would he be able to help Xiaolon solve the problem, but he would also be able to get rid of Xiaolon. Damn it! Sometimes the difference between ideals and reality was very small, but sometimes it was a difference of hundreds of years. After cursing in his heart, Ningyu began to carefully observe the formation, striving to break it in a short time. Drip, drip. Time always slipped away unknowingly. As Ningyu was trying hard to think of a way to break through the formation, Venerable Gong stared at the 3 saint fruit on the branch in the cave. He frowned slightly, feeling rather worried. The reason why Venerable Gong was worried wasn't because the 3 saint fruit had yet to ripen. On the contrary, the 3 saint fruit had already ripened. With his physique, there was a huge risk in consuming a fully ripened 3 saint fruit. If he was careless, he would die without a burial. The bold will be stuffed to death, and the cowardly will be starved to death. After a brief pondering, Venerable Gong clenched his teeth. No matter what, I'm still a pinnacle 6th grade sovereign. I don't believe that a single 3 saint fruit can do anything to me. Although he said that Venerable Gong still did not dare to devour the 3 saint fruit. That's because he was clear that there were only 2 outcomes for him to devour the 3 saint fruit. Firstly, he would successfully reach the 7th grade sovereign realm. Secondly, his body would explode from the powerful energy of the 3 saint fruit, and he would disappear from this world. The ratio was as high as 1:9. That also meant that Venerable Gong only had a 10% chance of success and a 90% chance of failure. Rumble. Just when Venerable Gong was hesitating if he should devour the 3 saint fruit, an earth-shattering rumble resounded from the entrance of the cave. Shit! Hearing that voice, Venerable Gong's face drastically changed as he grabbed onto the 3 saint fruit and bolted out. Venerable Gong's speed was very fast to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, Venerable Gong had already arrived at the entrance of the cave. Seeing a familiar silhouette standing at the entrance of the cave, Venerable Gong clenched his fists to the point that crackling sounds could be heard as veins bulged on his forehead. Unconscious pellet puppet, Quickly, Venerable Gong was only briefly stunned as he quickly recovered from his shock. He formed seals with both of his hands and immediately ordered the unconscious pellet puppet. Although he had no idea how Ningyu broke through the array at the entrance of the cave, Venerable Gong was clear that before he reached the 7th grade sovereign realm by devouring the 3 saint fruits, the only thing that could stop Ningyu was the unintentional sense pill puppet. As long as the unconscious pellet puppet obstructs Ningyu for a few minutes, I will immediately devour the 3 saint fruit. Venerable Gong inwardly made up his mind to devour the 3 saint fruit. Since it had come to this, he had no other choice. If he wanted to smoothly get rid of Ningyu, the only way was to devour the 3 saint fruit. If I had known this earlier, I would have given the unconscious pellet puppet all the energy beforehand. Venerable Gong was filled with regret. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world, and there was nothing he could do about it. Solitaire. Since he had already avoided the unconscious pellet puppet, how could Ningyu allow Venerable Gong to control it again? Therefore, Ningyu took out the red demon sword and slashed out in the air. That's all you've got. Sensing the ripples emitted from the sword ripples, Venerable Gong was a little dumbfounded. Logically speaking, Ningyu's attack power shouldn't be this weak. Isn't it a little bad to be distracted now? Ningyu grabbed onto the fleeting opportunity. He instantly tore through the void and arrived before Venerable Gong. All the energy in his sea of consciousness gathered in his right fist. Under Venerable Gong's shocked gaze, he punched at his heart. Bang! The terrifying force from his heart caused Venerable Gong's expression to become unusually hideous. Venerable Gong's hideous expression was very special. From the initial fear to the final ecstasy. Bang! In the end, Venerable Gong directly exploded. Fortunately, when Venerable Gong exploded, Ningyu used a secret technique to hide below. Otherwise, this explosion alone would have been enough to take his little life. Creak! After Venerable Gong was killed, the unconscious pellet puppet in the distance also stopped. Whoosh! After confirming that the unconscious pellet puppet was completely unable to move, the worry in Ningyu's heart was slightly alleviated. That's right, the tri-sacred fruit. After a short silence, Ningyu shouted loudly. He hurriedly extended his perception and began to search left and right. The tri-sacred fruit was good stuff. It would be too much of a pity to lose it. Over there! Ningyu did not search for long before he found the tri-sacred fruit at the corner of the cave. Rustle! Moving his feet, Ningyu quickly came before the tri-sacred fruit and picked it up. Rumble! Chapter 1094. What's going on? Oh no! Ningyu's expression changed drastically when he felt the cave shaking. He immediately extended his senses to see how many Dharma treasures and elixirs there were in the cave. I can't believe it. Sometimes the more one knew, the more painful it was. It was a tragedy to be able to see so many Dharma treasures and elixirs, but not be able to get them. 10 seconds until the cave collapses. A terrifying light burst forth from Ningyu's eyes, and he immediately summoned his storage ring, racing against time as he busied himself in the cave. Drip! Drip! 10 seconds passed in the blink of an eye. When the 11th second arrived, Ningyu's figure flashed, and he dashed out of the cave at a shocking speed. You go into the storage ring, too. Passing by the unconscious pill puppet, Ningyu controlled the storage ring to emit a beam of light and stored the unconscious pill puppet into the storage ring. Rumble! As soon as Ningyu left the cave collapsed. The shock wave caused by the collapse of the cave made Ningyu's expression turn ugly. He immediately retreated. A person's strength was insignificant. In the face of the cave collapsing, Ningyu had no other choice. Moreover, the Dark Emperor and the others were fighting with 4 peak 6th grade human sovereigns. Ningyu had no time to search for Dharma treasures and elixirs here. What he needed to do was to return to the Dark Emperor as soon as possible. Why are they all royal grade origin crystals? As he flew, Ningyu extended his soul power into the storage ring. After 10 seconds of searching, not even a tenth of the storage ring was filled. Even so, there were still a lot of origin crystals in the storage ring. Royal grade origin crystals. To be exact, there were about 1 million of them. 1 million royal grade origin crystals. Just thinking about it made one's blood boil. However, Ningyu was not too satisfied. To him, Dharma treasures and elixirs were more precious than royal grade origin crystals. Forget it. Let's raise the cultivation of the unconscious Dan puppet to the early phase 8th grade sovereign realm. With a slight frown, Ningyu directly took out 100,000 royal grade origin crystals from his storage ring and threw them all into the unconscious pill puppet's mouth. Kacha! As the royal grade essence crystal entered its stomach, the unintentional consciousness pill puppet seemed to be devouring it. The unintentional consciousness pill puppet took 2 minutes to completely refine 100,000 royal grade essence crystals. Whoosh! After refining 100,000 royal grade essence crystals, the aura of the pill puppet suddenly soared into the sky. Early 8th grade human supreme martial artist. The unintentional sense Dantian's cultivation had reached the early 8th grade human supreme martial artist realm. 100,000 royal grade essence crystals should be able to sustain the unconscious pill puppet for half an hour. Ningyu muttered as his gaze shifted to the unconscious Dan Shao. Honestly speaking, 100,000 royal grade essence crystals to let the unconscious pill puppet persist for half an hour. Ningyu was really a little reluctant. He had obtained a total of 1 million royal grade essence crystals from the cave, and after careful calculation, it could only provide for 5 hours. Puchi! Puchi! While Ningyu was advancing at full speed, somewhere on the battlefield, 2 figures were struck in the chest by the cultivators they were fighting with. Their bodies flew out, and they spat out a mouthful of blood. Dark Emperor, Talisman Supremacy. These 2 figures were none other than the Dark Emperor and Talisman Supremacy. At this moment, the 2 of them were in a sorry state. Their clothes were tattered, and their auras were extremely weak. Comparatively, the sapling on the other side was in a much better state. The sapling was fighting 1 against 2, but it was only at a slight disadvantage. At the very least, it wouldn't be defeated in a short period of time. Damn it! I wonder when that brat Ningyu will return. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the Dark Emperor said coldly, with Ningyu's strength, dealing with these peak 6th grade human supreme martial artists should be a piece of cake. Don't talk so much. Ningyu is dealing with Venerable Gong, and the 7th grade pinnacle human sovereign realm unconscious Dan Qi were already considered very lucky to have stayed behind to deal with these 6th grade pinnacle human sovereigns. The Talisman Supremacy was rather rational. She was clear that Ningyu was the true danger. Whether it was Supremacy Gong or the unconscious Dan Shao, both of them were extremely powerful. The slightest carelessness, and they would die without a burial. We can't carry on like this. We have to think of a countermeasure. The Dark Emperor's eyes rolled as he spoke. I know that we have to think of a way, but what can we think of? The Talisman Supremacy's face was cold. It was so much so that she felt a little regretful. She had left the 100 Flowers Palace to search for a cauldron for the palace lord. She had found the cauldron, but she had fallen into a deeper whirlpool. Don't be distracted. Seeing the Talisman Supremacy's dazed expression, the Dark Emperor immediately roared, "These fellows are all puppets. They won't give any face." Yes, yes. Hearing the Dark Emperor's roar, the Talisman Supremacy immediately reacted and fought with the peak 6th grade human supreme martial artist. Boom! Boom! However, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy were already at the end of their tether. Even with their full strength, they couldn't withstand the attacks of a peak 6th grade human supreme martial artist. In a moment of carelessness, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy were struck by the fists of the peak 6th grade human supreme martial artists, and their bodies were like broken kites as they heavily fell onto the ground. Russell, after pushing the Dark Emperor and the rest back, the two peak 6th grade human sovereigns instantly tore through space and appeared before the Dark Emperor and the rest at a terrifying speed. It's over. The Dark Emperor's pupils contracted as he felt despair in his heart. Right now, he had basically lost the qualification to fight with a peak 6th grade human sovereign. At this moment, he could even defeat or kill an ordinary 1st grade human sovereign. Buzz! Suddenly, the situation changed. The space in the distance suddenly split apart. A colossal creature appeared out of thin air. It's over, it's over. We're really done for this time. The Dark Emperor fell into complete despair at the sight of the massive creature in the distance. That's because the massive figure that appeared was the unconscious Dan Shao. Furthermore, the cultivation of the unconscious Dan Shao had reached the initial phase 8th grade. Human sovereign realm. Even he and the Talisman Supremacy couldn't deal with two peak 6th grade human sovereigns, not to mention the unconscious Dan Shao. Roar! The unconscious Dan Shao roared into the sky as it swiftly moved and appeared above the Dark Emperor. Crack! Crack! What happened next left the Dark Emperor wide in his mouth and speechless for a long time. That's because the unconscious Dan Shao had stretched out its hands and grabbed onto two peak 6th grade human sovereigns, tearing them into two. Gulp. The sudden change had caused disbelief to appear on the Dark Emperor's face. Two pinnacle 6th grade sovereign realm human sovereigns were killed so easily. Crack. Crack. Furthermore, after killing the two peak 6th grade human sovereigns, the unconscious Dan Shao flew to the side of the sapling and helped the sapling kill the other two peak 6th grade human sovereigns. Everything was over in a matter of seconds. The Dark Emperor stretched his right hand out and pointed at the unconscious Dan Shao, stuttering as he spoke. Chapter 1095. Two flowers bloom. Let me tell you what's going on. At that instant, a calm voice could be heard coming from the rift. Whoosh! Another figure emerged from the void right after the indifferent words were spoken. The figure was not too old, with a skinny face and a tall figure. Ningyu. The Dark Emperor was slightly dumbfounded as he stared at the familiar figure. Didn't Ningyu go after Venerable Gong? Could it be right? Having that thought, the Dark Emperor immediately shifted his gaze toward the unconscious pill puppet in the air. When he saw the unconscious pill puppet hovering in the air like a statue, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out in the end. The situation was clear. The unconscious pill puppet had been obtained by Ningyu and now belonged to Ningyu alone. As for Venerable Gong, anyone could guess his fate as long as they weren't idiots. Here, Ningyu took out two storage bags and tossed them to the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Martial Highness. After a slight thought, Ningyu took out another storage bag and tossed it to the sapling. The Dark Emperor and the others received the storage bags with joy on their faces. 100,000 royal grade origin crystals. Each of them received 100,000 royal grade origin crystals. With so many royal grade origin crystals, the Dark Emperor was confident that he could recover to his peak within a short period of time. Thanks. After receiving the royal grade origin crystals, the Talisman Martial Highness nodded at Ningyu to express his gratitude. With so many royal grade origin crystals, he was confident that he could recover to his peak within a short period of time. Ningyu, are we leaving the Pill Cave or staying here? After receiving the royal grade origin crystals, the talisman Martial Highness did not immediately recover. Instead, he frowned and said, "If we stay, we might be able to find a huge amount of resources. If we leave, we can use the unconscious pill puppet to help Xialan. Let's rest here for half an hour. We'll leave the pill cave after that." After a brief hesitation, Ningyu decided to rest first. After all, they were not in peak condition. Even if they left the pill cave now, they would not be able to help Xialan. Rather than causing trouble now, it would be better for him to recuperate for the time being. It wouldn't be too late to go there after he recovered to his peak condition. All right, if not for Ningyu being here, the Dark Emperor would have long gone to recuperate. Now that he heard Ningyu's words, he immediately sat down cross-legged and took out a royal-grade origin crystal from his storage bag, tossed it into his mouth, and began refining it. Kacha! In just a few seconds, this royal-grade origin crystal was swallowed by the alchemy sovereign. Ka. After that, the Dark Emperor took out a few more royal-grade origin crystals and tossed them into his mouth to chew. Whoosh! Although the talisman Martial Venerable was not as arrogant as the Dark Emperor, she was still refining the royal-grade origin crystal at an extremely fast speed. Forget it, you guys are all amazing. Upon seeing the Dark Emperor and talisman Martial Supremacy's actions, Ningyu arrived at a relatively quiet area. He reached into his robes with his right hand and took out the triple sacred fruit. After thinking for a while, Ningyu gritted his teeth and threw the sanching fruit into his mouth. F***CK this crystal. As soon as the sanching fruit was thrown into his mouth, Ningyu felt a ball of fire burning in his mouth, causing him to suffer unspeakable pain. In fact, Ningyu even had the urge to spit out the sanching fruit. However, Ningyu knew very well that the sanching fruit was a treasure. Once he swallowed it, he must not spit it out. Otherwise, all his efforts would be in vain. Feeling helpless, Ningyu could only grit his teeth and endure. Drip, drip, drip. Beads of sweat the size of beans dripped from Ningyu's forehead continuously. Ningyu had no time to care about the changes on the surface. He focused his mind into his body and attempted to refine the sanching fruit together with his soul power and origin chi. The energy contained within the sanching fruit was unusually massive. According to Ningyu's estimation, this amount of energy could at least allow him to advance to a grade 2 human supremacy. Currently, Ningyu's cultivation was only a grade 1 human supremacy. If he could advance to a grade 2 human supremacy in a short period of time, his strength would increase by at least a few folds. By then, Ningyu would be fearless even if he were to face an early grade 7 human supremacy. Spiritual transformation technique. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu threw himself into refining the sanching fruit wholeheartedly. He really did not pay attention to the outside world and only focused on refining the sanching fruit. The reason why Venerable Gong did not dare to refine the sanching fruit was because his physique was weaker and his willpower was not strong enough. Apart from his physique being slightly weaker, Ningyu's willpower was exceptionally strong. Chi. With the help of the spiritual transformation technique, the sanching fruit continued to shrink. In Ningyu's sea of consciousness, majestic energy kept surging into his body. It was so much that it was almost out of control. The energy contained within the sanching fruit is indeed powerful. If this goes on, I might explode. Ningyu's eyes darted around as he tried to think of a countermeasure. There was indeed no way for him to digest so much energy. In a few more minutes, exploding would probably be the easiest way for him to die. Phantom armor. At this critical moment, Ningyu's mind stirred and he directly took out the welcome armor. The phantom armor was a royal-grade artifact. Every time there was energy, its quality would increase. Previously, the experts of the Phantom Rat clan used the demonic beasts in the Magical Beast Mountain range to refine the phantom armor to lower grade royal grade. Ning Yu was confident that with so much energy this time, he could at least refine the phantom armor to middle grade. Crack! Although he was refining the phantom armor and cultivating at the same time, Ning Yu's cultivation speed did not decrease at all. On the contrary, it was getting faster. Half an hour passed. The Dark Emperor and Venerable Talisman Marshal had already woken up. Among the two of them, the Dark Emperor had recovered to 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist, and his strength had reached the peak. Venerable Talisman Martial Artist had recovered to 5th grade Supreme Martial Artist, and his strength was not much weaker than the Dark Emperor. On the other hand, Ningyu had his eyes closed, and his right hand kept grabbing at the air. Bang! Not long after, a muffled sound came from Ningyu's sea of consciousness. The sound was crisp and clear, yet it made one feel suffocated. You, the Dark Emperor and Venerable Talisman Martial Artist felt the terrifying aura emanating from Ningyu, and their mouths were slightly agape. 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist. After more than half an hour of cultivation, Ningyu's cultivation had taken another step forward, reaching the terrifying 2nd grade human sovereign realm. Moreover, Ningyu's 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist was a little different from ordinary ones, because he was a peak 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist, and his aura was even stronger than a peak 6th grade Supreme Martial Artist. Phew! After advancing to peak 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist, Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief. He stretched out his right hand and wiped the beads of sweat off his forehead. After more than half an hour, he advanced from 1st grade Supreme Martial Artist to 2nd grade Supreme Martial Artist. However, Ningyu did not show too much joy, because what made him the happiest was the phantom armor. At this moment, the phantom armor had reached middle grade Supreme Martial Artist. Although it was only a small increase from lower grade Supreme Martial Artist to middle grade Supreme Martial Artist, this increase was extremely useful to Ningyu. Chapter 1096. A Special Person, Don't Make a Fuss. Let's leave the pill cave immediately. Retracting the phantom armor, Ningyu controlled the unconscious Dantian into his storage ring before grabbing the Sword of Evil and dashing out. My Dantian is even more powerful now. The Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy exchanged glances and could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. Advancing from a 1st grade human sovereign to a 2nd grade human sovereign in half an hour. Just what kind of freak was he? Perhaps describing Ningyu as a freak was no longer appropriate. Freak. The only word that the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy could think of was freak. Let's go too. Since Ningyu had already left, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy would not stay behind. The Talisman Supremacy brought Yunmu and the Dark Emperor with him as they quickly chased after Ningyu. Swish, swish, swish. 3 figures were rapidly advancing in the depths of the pill cave. The Dark Emperor, Ningyu, and the Talisman Supremacy, as well as the Sword of Evil and Yunmu that they brought with them. Ningyu, we might encounter the Danzhong army in a few minutes. Should we kill them or leave? The Dark Emperor frowned as they flew. Although the Danzhong army was only a 1st and 2nd grade human sovereign, they could still unleash terrifying battle prowess when they joined forces. They had 2 choices. The first was to take a detour and avoid the Danzhong army as much as possible. The second was to fight them head-on. After all, the unconscious Danzhong was around, and they had recovered to their peak condition. It was unknown who would live and who would die. Swish! Before Ningyu could reply, the sapling turned into an afterimage and disappeared. The direction that the sapling went was where the Danzhong army was. Sai, there's no other way now. We have to kill them, whether we want to or not. The sapling's actions made Ningyu sigh. The sapling was the world tree. If it wanted to devour the Danzhong, there was nothing Ningyu could do to stop it. Buzz! Seeing the sapling sprout out, the law of space could no longer sit still. The law of space had always been in a competitive relationship with the sapling. The sapling had swallowed so many elixir puppets, but it hadn't gotten anything. It must be furious right now. Therefore, the law of space also wanted a piece of the pie. What do we do now? The Dark Emperor was dumbfounded. Why were all of them acting like hooligans? Seeing a pill puppet, they were even more excited than seeing a royal great essence crystal. What should we do? Do you still need me to teach you that? Devouring pills has always been your forte. Ningyu rolled his eyes at the Dark Emperor, then tore through the void and chased after the sapling and the spatial laws. Right now, there was only one strategy, and that was to swallow, swallow, swallow. Before the sapling and the spatial laws completely devoured Danhua, they could devour as much as they could. F***CK, wait for me. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor almost jumped up. Ningyu was right. Devouring pill puppets was his forte. He was a heaven-devouring dog, known to be able to swallow the heavens, the earth, and the air. If he couldn't even defeat Ningyu, then this title would be too unworthy of his name. You guys devour slowly. Supremacy Talisman Marshal did not want to get involved blindly. He was different from Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. Even if he went to devour the pill puppets, his speed wouldn't be much faster. Rather than that, he might as well heal Yunmu first. When they left the pill cavern later, there would be one less trouble. Ah, my eyes. My legs, my legs, my legs. Everyone, don't panic. We must work together. Their cultivation levels are very low. It's impossible for them to devour all of our pill puppets. Inside the pill cavern, all sorts of curses and roars rose and fell. Regrettably, their cries were all in vain. After Supremacy Gong and Supremacy Fong were killed and the unintentional consciousness pill puppets were obtained by Ningyu, their fates were already sealed. The sapling and the spatial laws were simply two monsters. Their bodies were like a bottomless pit. No matter how many pill puppets they devoured, there was no change. Sapling, you've devoured so many pill puppets. Shouldn't you at least give me a Shenyang pill? Ningyu shouted at the sapling as he devoured the pill puppets. Swoosh! The sapling swayed, as though it was provoking Ningyu. I can't cure you anymore. The sapling's provocative action caused Ningyu to be infuriated. With a thought, he began to control the sapling. If Ningyu's current cultivation was only at the first grade human supremacy realm, he naturally wouldn't be able to control the sapling. But now that he had advanced to the second grade human supremacy realm, and with the help of the spatial laws, the sapling was quickly controlled by him. Buzz! After being controlled by Ningyu, the sapling kept swaying, trying to break free from Ningyu's control. However, how would Ningyu give it the chance? You would never allow it to eat alone. Boom! The arm could never win against the thigh. 30 seconds later, a Shenyang pill appeared on one of the sapling's branches, and the speed at which the Shenyang pill was growing was fast, very fast. In just a minute or two, the Shenyang pill was starting to take shape. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before the first Shenyang pill was fully formed. Swallow, swallow, swallow. The Dark Emperor slaughtered the many pill puppets. Every time he killed a pill puppet, he would devour it as fast as he could. Even though the pill cavern was right, the sapling, the spatial laws, Ningyu, and the Dark Emperor finally devoured all the pill puppets after 2 hours of hard work. No. To be precise, there was still one pill puppet that was not killed. This pill puppet's cultivation was not particularly high, only at the third grade human supremacy realm. The reason why Ningyu could spare him was because he was very special, so special that Ningyu had no choice but to keep him. I know where all the resource stations of the Eastern Expedition Army are. I beg you, let me go! The third grade human sovereign, Dan Ming, hurriedly knelt on the ground and said, "Furthermore, apart from knowing where the resource station is, I also know an important piece of information. This important information concerns your life and death." Speak. Ning Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and said calmly, You have to promise to let me go. The third-grade human supremacy gritted his teeth. You don't have a choice. Ning Yu's expression was still the same, except that his face was starting to show anger. All right, I'll speak. For the sake of his life, the third-grade human supremacy could only speak honestly. Initially, the Eastern Expedition Army did not intend to attack the humans because it is not the right time yet. However, it seems that there has been a disagreement within the army recently. Some of them have decided to use the Pill Cavern of Dongwu College as their base of operations to start a large-scale attack on the humans. Daxia Kingdom is the first country to be affected. When will the attack begin? Ning Yu continued with a gloomy expression. Chapter 1097. Leaving Safely. One last question. How can I bring you away without the cavern collapsing? After a moment of silence, Ning Yu said, Don't tell me you don't have a way. If you don't, I'll cripple your cultivation, break your legs, and pull out your tendons before leaving you here to fend for yourself. Aye. With every word Ning Yu said, the third-grade Mortal Supreme would tremble. In the end, the third-grade Mortal Supreme Dan, Qi even fell to the ground. He had no doubt that Ning Yu would do such a thing. After all, Ning Yu had no direct relationship with him, so he wouldn't care about his life or death. What? If you can say it, then say it. If not, I'll do it. The Dark Emperor was getting impatient. Who knows if you're telling the truth? What if the cavern collapses soon? Wouldn't it be dangerous for them to stay? Therefore, the Dark Emperor unleashed his aura and pressed down on the third-grade Mortal Supreme Dan Chi Puff. Under the pressure of the Dark Emperor's aura, the third-grade Mortal Supreme Dan Chi spat out a mouthful of blood as his body trembled even more violently. I'll say it. If you don't want the cavern to collapse, you have to give up something. Zhang Shun clenched his teeth and said, Yuan crystals. The more Yuan crystals, the better. I'll bring you to a whirlpool. Throw all the Yuan crystals you have into the whirlpool. When the whirlpool doubles in size, enter it. If everything goes well, the whirlpool will bring us out of the cavern. If everything goes well, what if something goes wrong? The Dark Emperor said coldly, Whether something goes wrong depends on how many Yuan crystals you have. Zhang Shun said, Ning Yu, what do we do? The Dark Emperor turned to look at Ning Yu and said, Can we trust his words? I can believe it. Just now, I paid attention to the changes in his emotions, and I noticed that his emotions have always been in a highly tense state. Waving his hand, Ning Yu said, Bring us to the whirlpool. Remember, don't play any tricks, or you'll die a horrible death. I know. I won't play any tricks. Zhang Shun hurriedly nodded. Whoosh! Zhang Shun took the lead, and Ning Yu followed closely behind. The Dark Emperor brought the Sword of Evil, while the Talisman Martial Sovereign brought Yunmu. They quickly went to find the whirlpool. This pill cavern was not big, but it was not small either. Ning Yu and the rest followed behind Zhang Shun. In just 10 minutes, they arrived in front of the whirlpool. There really is a whirlpool. Looking at the whirlpool in front of him, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth and said, However, this whirlpool is a little small. Even if it doubled in size, it wouldn't be able to fit all of us in. As long as the vortex doubles in size, there will be a powerful suction force coming from inside. At that time, as long as everyone doesn't do anything low, they will be sucked into the vortex, Zhang Shun explained. Let me try first. Ning Yu did not hesitate. He took out a storage bag and threw it into the whirlpool. Chi. As soon as the storage bag was thrown into the whirlpool, it made a sizzling sound. Very soon, the sound disappeared. Gone. Ning Yu was a little dumbfounded. One had to know that the number of essence crystals in the storage bag earlier was a total of 10,000 pieces. In other words, 10,000 pieces of royal-grade essence crystals were all devoured by the whirlpool. 1 second, 0, 1 second. Perhaps it didn't even reach 0. 1 second. I want to hear the truth. So many royal-grade essence crystals can only make the whirlpool expand a little. How many royal-grade essence crystals are needed to make it double in size? Ning Yu turned to look at Zhang Shun with an ugly expression. At this time, even if there was something wrong with Ning Yu's head, he could guess that Zhang Shun was playing tricks. Ha ha ha! To tell you the truth, this whirlpool is indeed a whirlpool that leads to the outside world. Moreover, as long as it doubles in size, we will be able to leave the pill cavern successfully. Zhang Shun laughed out loud and said, "Most of what I said is the truth. There is only one point, and that is the problem of essence crystals. To make the whirlpool double in size, the amount of essence crystals needed is in the millions." Millions. The expressions of Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were very ugly. Millions of royal-grade essence crystals. Just thinking about it made people despair. Dark Emperor, execute your heaven-swallowing Hound Clan's secret technique and kill it. Memories devour. Now that it came to this, Ningyu no longer hid anything. He said to the Dark Emperor, coldly, "Got it." The Dark Emperor had long found Zhang Shun an eyesore. Now that Zhang Shun was playing tricks, he naturally had to teach Zhang Shun a lesson. The Dark Emperor was the emperor of the heaven-swallowing Hound Clan. Not only could he devour essence energy and energy, he could even devour memories. To deal with Zhang Shun, the Dark Emperor was as violent as he could be. A minute later, Zhang Shun was devoured by the Dark Emperor. How is it? Ningyu stared at the Dark Emperor and asked solemnly, "Nothing much. Hurry up and throw Zhang Shun into the whirlpool. A second later, and the cave will completely collapse." The Dark Emperor did not have time to answer Ningyu's words. He grabbed Zhang Shun's shoulder and threw him into the whirlpool. Ka! A terrifying strangulation force erupted from the whirlpool, mincing Zhang Shun into pieces. Rumble. At the same time, the pill cave started to shake, and this shaking became faster and faster, showing signs of collapsing at any moment. "Let's go, leave the pill cave." The Dark Emperor left this sentence, then tore through the void and was the first to enter the whirlpool. "Let's go." Even the Dark Emperor had entered. Ningyu's worries were slightly alleviated. He grabbed the Sword of Evil and entered the whirlpool, disappearing. "Let's go too." With everyone leaving, Supremacy Talisman Marshal would be no different from a fool if she stayed. She tapped Yun Mu's shoulder twice with her right hand, then brought Yun Mu into the whirlpool. Boom! Swish! When Supremacy Talisman Marshal entered the whirlpool suddenly closed, and the shaking of the pill cave disappeared completely. Everything returned to normal. Where is this? Why is it so dark? Ningyu and the others were in an incomparably dark void. There's a light spot ahead. Suddenly, the Dark Emperor pointed into the distance and exclaimed. Everyone's gaze shifted to the area where the light spot was. That place was indeed very bright. Hurry! Initially, Ningyu wanted to stay for a while more to confirm if the place where the light spot was safe. However, when he turned back and saw the space gradually closing up, he immediately rushed out, using all his strength. Whoosh! Before long, Ningyu and the others completely rushed out of the space. Die! Ningyu had just flown out of the space, and before he could observe the situation around him, he heard a loud shout beside his ear. This voice was very domineering, not taking Ningyu and the others seriously at all. A heavy fist broke through the void and smashed towards Ningyu's head. Chapter 1098. Consecutive Slaughter. Phantom Armor, it's all up to you. Feeling the terrifying power contained in the fist, Ningyu clenched his teeth and hurriedly summoned the energy in his consciousness. wrapping it around the phantom armor. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. The heavy fist landed heavily on Ning Yu's chest. The immense force sent Ning Yu flying. Crack! Ning Yu's body crashed into a towering tree far away, breaking it in half. Uft! Fresh blood spurted from his mouth as Ning Yu's expression turned extremely ugly. "It's you guys!" Staring at the figures in the distance, Ning Yu said in a deep voice, "Why are you guys here?" Not far away from Ning Yu stood 4 figures. Without a doubt, they were the 4 pinnacle, 7th grade sovereign realm pellet puppets that he had seen in the cave. I should be the one asking you that. The pellet puppet that had attacked Ning Yu said coldly, "This is the second entrance to the Pill Cave. Why did you guys come out from here? Tell me what happened inside." "I don't think I need to tell you guys what happened in the Pill Cave, right?" Turning his head, Ning Yu was filled with confidence when he saw that the Dark Emperor and the rest had landed safely. 4 pinnacle, 7th grade sovereign realm pellet puppets, and a sumptuous meal. Ning Yu, why are you wasting your breath on them? They're only 7th grade sovereign realm pellet puppets. Hurry up and kill them. We don't have time to waste here. The Dark Emperor seemed a little impatient as he continued. I'm only a step away from 3rd grade sovereign realm. As long as I'm given 3, no, 2 pellet puppets for me to devour, I'll be able to advance to 3rd grade sovereign realm. The Dark Emperor's words made Ning Yu and venerable talisman marshals faces darken. Even at this point, he was still thinking of devouring, as expected of the sky-devouring dog clan. Come out. Ning Yu knew the severity of the situation. With a thought, he controlled the unintentional consciousness pill puppet to leave the storage ring. The Sword of Evil was still in a wooden state. If he wanted to remove the Dantian mark on his forehead, he would have to find that 8th grade initial human supreme and refine it before injecting its energy into the Sword of Evil's body. Apart from this, there was no other way. The Sword of Evil had followed him through thick and thin. How could Ning Yu leave him alone? Dong! The enormous, unconscious Dan puppet landed in front of Ning Yu. Hiss! The sudden appearance of the Colossus had caused the 4 pinnacle, 7th grade sovereign realm pellet puppets to suck in a cold breath. Terrifying! They were only at the peak of the 7th grade human supremacy realm, but the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet in front of them was at the beginning of the 8th grade human supremacy realm. Most importantly, how did this unconscious pill puppet end up in Ning Yu's hands? What about Venerable Gong and Venerable Fong? Where the hell did the 2 of them go? A series of questions appeared in the minds of the 4 puppets. Roar! At this moment, an earth-shattering roar resounded. The unintentional consciousness, Dan, puppet, stomped on the ground and charged out at a shocking speed. Its first target was the pinnacle 7th grade human supreme that had attacked Ning Yu. Puff! Before the powerful pill puppet, that pinnacle 7th grade human sovereign couldn't even react in time, and his head was blown apart. Whoosh! The Dark Emperor rushed out the moment the pinnacle 7th grade human supreme, Dan puppet, died. In the words of the Dark Emperor, such a delicacy shouldn't be wasted. Retreat! Seeing that the situation wasn't good, they immediately retreated. There were also highly intelligent Dan puppets among them. The remaining 3 Dan puppets could sense how terrifying the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet was. If they stayed any longer, they would definitely die. Instead of staying and waiting for death, they might as well leave and find Venerable Emperor Marshall. Venerable Marshall Emperor was an 8th grade human sovereign. Thus, he was able to suppress Xiaolon in their fight. 3 hours later, Venerable Emperor Marshall defeated Xiaolon and found a quiet place to start refining the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet. Venerable Emperor Marshall was an early-stage 8th grade human supreme. As long as he refined and devoured Xiaolon, he could easily advance to the mid-stage 8th grade human supreme. Venerable Emperor Marshall definitely had to grasp such a good opportunity. After him. Ningyu glanced at the Dark Emperor, then grabbed the sword of evil and followed, closely behind the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet. Releasing a tiger back into the mountains would cause endless trouble in the future. Ningyu understood this logic. To cut the weeds, one had to remove the roots. No matter what, Ningyu had to kill the remaining 3 pinnacle 7th grade human supreme. Go in. After some thought, Ningyu took out a storage bag and threw it into the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet's mouth. Boom! There were a total of 100,000 royal grade essence crystals in the storage bag. With so many essence crystals in its stomach, the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet exploded with a terrifying aura. Another half an hour. Every 100,000 royal grade essence crystals could keep the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet at the 8th grade human supreme for half an hour. Now, Ningyu had 800,000 royal grade essence crystals left. Including the 100,000 royal grade essence crystals he just threw into the unintentional consciousness Dan puppet's mouth. It could last for 4.5 hours. You didn't believe that he couldn't catch up to the 3 pinnacle 7th grade human supreme Dan puppets in 4.5 hours. If he really couldn't catch up, Ningyu might as well hang himself. Hang in there. We'll reach the Venerable Emperor Marshal in 3 minutes. I wonder if the Venerable Emperor Marshal refined the B***TSH. After all, she's also an 8th grade human supreme. Don't worry, the Venerable Emperor Marshal isn't an ordinary 8th grade human supreme. He's very powerful. Even the unintentional consciousness, Dan, puppet behind him, can't pose a threat to him. That being said, I wonder if we can disturb the Venerable Emperor Marshal while he's refining the B***TSH. We have to disturb him even if we can't. Otherwise, we'll all die. The 3 Dan puppets discussed as they ran away. Crack! They didn't run for long before the unintentional consciousness Dan puppets caught up. The unintentional consciousness Dan puppet was extremely ruthless. It raised its arm and hammered the neck of the last puppet. With a crack, the last puppet's eyes rolled back and it fainted. Another one. The Dark Emperor always appeared and disappeared mysteriously. Wherever the Dan puppets were, he would be there. After the unintentional consciousness, Dan puppet succeeded. He immediately tore through the void and appeared, devouring the 2nd pinnacle 7th grade Dan puppet. Whoosh! While the Dark Emperor was devouring the Dan puppets, Ningyu and the rest weren't idle. 2 of the 4 Dan puppets died, leaving 2 behind. In Ningyu's heart, he couldn't let any of them go. In the following period of time, it was always Ningyu and the rest chasing from behind, while the 2 Dan puppets ran in front. Oh no! Hurry up and kill them! About 10 minutes later, Ningyu's expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly ordered the unintentional consciousness Dan puppets. This was because Ningyu found an empty space in front of him. There were 2 martial artists sitting in the empty space. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.